Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuber Book Club. And I'll do Adrian's intro. I don't know why I always have to say Adrian's intro. I'll just say write on writers and read on readers. Welcome to the Tuber Book Club, and here on Books by Adrian's platform. I'm Shannon, your host for today, but I write under the name of SC Houston. And I do have my own channel under the name of SC Houston, where I have content that's mostly writing sprints right now. I do have the occasional video come out, which I'll have a few come out in the next couple of weeks. But then also I am one half of the Author Tube Writing Conference, which is less than 2 weeks away, which Adrian's actually going to be a speaker with. One of our hosts on the panel today is also a speaker at the Author Tube Writing Conference. Really looking forward to that. And we have $2,800, just over $2,800 worth of gifts or giveaways for the prizes during the Author Tube Writing Conference. So definitely come fill out some feedback forms. That's how you enter the giveaway. You can enter multiple times, as many sessions that you go to and watch and submit a feedback form. We're looking forward to that. I'm also 1/3 of the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast, and that is coming. Our next episode is an off-season episode coming out on this Thursday, the 15th, in which we're talking about Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's myself and Morgan, the regular host, along with guest Emma Bennett, which is one of our hosts for today as well. And our other speaker was Andy from Easy Graphics, the YouTube channel Easy Graphics. All right, that is my intro. Today, we're finishing up Adrian Santiago's debut, Mythic, Shadow of the Spark. We're discussing chapter 16 through the epilogue. And in a minute, I'll bring out the other panelists. We'll discuss what we thought of the rest of this book, and we'll go chapter by chapter. And 2 weeks from now, we are actually going to have the author on his own channel and grill him. I mean, we're going to ask him questions about the choices he made in his book. And we're going to have fun doing that. So we finished it. It was a very long book. I've got lots of notes, lots of stuff that I've written in the book. I'm looking forward to discussing it with our panelists. So our other hosts here today. So let's go ahead and bring them on and let them do an intro. And I don't remember who I brought on last time. So we don't have Ben Pick with us today, just as a note. He is at work still. So we just myself and Bethany and Emma. We'll bring Bethany out first. I'll make you big.
Oh, hello. It's very hard to follow after all of Shannon's amazing accolades and stuff and what she can do. But hi, I'll try my best. I'm Bethany Vota. I am the author of Tracker and a few short story collections and some other fun stuff coming down the pipeline. I have a YouTube channel. I post occasionally there, but you can usually find me hopping in on other people's streams. I'm excited to discuss this book, and even more excited for next week or the following week when we get to harass Adrian a little bit. So, yeah.
I like that. I said grill, and that was on purpose. And you said harass. I'm like, okay, we're going to be really brutal.
Yeah, he's going to have a great time.
So next we have Emma Bennett. Let me make you on the solo layout. There you go.
Hello, my name is Emma Bennett. I'm a UK-based writer, and I write contemporary romance and the occasional children's picture book. It has been so fun to be invited to be part of this panel, and I didn't know that we got to grill Adrian as well, because I'm very new to this Tuber Book Club. So that's a great revelation. I'm going to enjoy that.
Oops, nope, wrong button. Sorry, I just took you out. Okay, so let's say hi to the people who are here. I did forget to say something as part of my intro, because my intro is kind of down pat. I kind of know what I'm doing most of the time, except that I should know what I'm doing, in that I did reveal yesterday that my book, A Curse of Scales and Feathers, is going to be launching. I shared the book cover yesterday on my channel, and it's actually launching on Kickstarter. So you can, I should have given the link to I should have thought about this. I'm not good at promoting myself.
Put it in the chat when you get a chance.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. I'll put it in there.
Or Richard probably will, because
Yes.
He's in the chat and he knows it.
And he did spoil it to my chat yesterday hey, go support Shannon's Kickstarter. And I'm like, wait, I haven't told him yet.
Oh my goodness. He's just very excited.
Funny. I watched the replay this morning and I was laughing so much.
And he was like, well, you put it in your newsletter. I was like, well, yeah, I tell my newsletter for everything first.
Oh, that's hilarious. We love that. Richard's just excited. The biggest supporter.
Yes, he was so excited for me. And I love that. I love that he was excited. And he was being so very helpful. So yeah, Richard, if you want to drop the link, I would be happy. Here is, don't forget to leave and review a review on Amazon and Goodreads. This is where Books by Adrian's book is at. Is the poll still up? I know there was a poll going, but I don't know if it's still going. Let me check.
And then I think Goodreads was having some issues. I don't know if it got fixed, but literally like 45 minutes ago, his Adrian's book was on there, but then I just looked like 2 minutes ago and it's not there. So if it's not there, maybe check back in a little bit and Goodreads can figure out.
That's so weird.
Maybe there was a flood of people trying to leave reviews.
Yes.
Best problem ever.
Yes.
You broke Goodreads.
¿Dónde están las con mis libros? That's not quite the sentence that you had in there, but it's close. Yeah. So he was trying to speak. I could see his face in my mind. Why am I blanking on this? He says this is a way, it's Spanish, right? He says, I can talk sexy Spanish to you. And he's like, where's the library at?
¿Puedes hablar español?
Just not very much.
Oh.
Yeah. I grew up in Miami, Florida, where Spanish was part of the curriculum, unless your parents took you out of it. And I was there through 7th grade. And then I took it in college because it was an easy elective. I knew I could pass the first course easy.
Nice.
And then my very first unit that I was part of, my team member was from Colombia. My E5 was from Puerto Rico. My E6 was from Mexico. And we'd all go out to lunch every day and they talk Spanish. So then I sat there and just listened to all of them talking. So,
I was supposed to learn at school, but I had a Spanish au pair and I used to get her to do my homework for me.
I love that.
And RC Scott, hello. And he says, happy birthday, Ben. So I guess it's Ben's birthday tonight.
It is Ben's birthday.
Oh, he's party. I thought he said he had work. I must have read it just too quickly. I probably read the note.
He's probably working and everybody's saying he's partying.
Oh.
Or it's his birthday and he gets to go have fun. Either way, we miss you, Ben.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Goodreads page down. Happy birthday. Hi, Guy. Hi, Cliff. Apparently Goodreads is spazzing because it was literally up an hour ago. Okay, so this is when you guys were all talking about it. Well, no, this was after we started. So, oh, goodness. I can't find it either. Oh, you were doing that probably during the intro, huh? Because it says 3:02 on the timestamp on that. That's
yeah, like during the intro.
When are we voting for the next book? Well, we are going to do our nominations at the end of this stream, and then the voting will happen. Books by Adrian will probably have it on Facebook and send it out in his newsletter. I usually get it via the newsletter. But yeah, we'll get to learn what books we're going to do today. LOL, I love a good grilling. All nominees came up at the end of the episode, and I'll say, oh, there, he was just answering that. Ben's in Canada. Oh, so he's not working. He can't be working.
Good for him.
Probably not, anyways. We'll find out the winner in 2 weeks. Yes, nominated book. No, you bailed. Yes, and I don't want to do the book that because he's doing he for 2 times in a row now he's done a book. It's a yellow cover. I can't remember the guy's name or his book name because it did not look interesting at all.
Don't be mean. You can't say that. What if that guy's watching?
Well, it's okay. There's no title.
There's no
title. But he might be watching because Richard said, oh, I'm going to nominate your book. Make sure you watch. And then he's heard that.
Okay.
I guess I'm the mean one.
It'll be fine.
I just mean there is a reason why titles are chosen carefully and book covers are chosen carefully is to grab the reader's attention. And that was not one that grabbed my attention. So, and I'm not every reader. I'm just one reader. So for me, it wasn't one that's part of the book club that I would want to read. I don't know.
If you try and make everyone happy, you're going to make no one happy. But if you try and make a group of people happy, then you'll make at least someone happy. Like, it's a mess. Good thing I hire good people because I don't have an artistic bone in my body. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I should show you I'll have to do like a video sometime of the sketches I did for a book cover that I gave to my cover designer. It's awful. And then seeing the cover that she came up with based off of my sketches. It's magical. I don't know how they do it.
I would love to see that. Stephanie, hello. I think he did. Did he put it in the...
Yes, I'll check the Discord chat.
I think he put it in the Discord group.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I think he put it somewhere. I have the email open that he has his thoughts for every chapter. So.
Oh, okay, perfect. Cool.
So if you guys want to grab the nomination for later, then I'll make sure I do that.
I'll look for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Hello. There it is. Only Shans. Thank you. I thought it was going to be Shantasy. Isn't that what
I like only Shans.
Remember, tap the like button, Erin. Thank you, Angela. If you didn't want it shared, don't put it in your newsletter. It's my newsletter. I work under the motto that you baby your newsletter. Your newsletter learns everything before you tell anybody else. Because that is your reader core, your fan base. They signed up to get this communication from you directly for as a reader, right? So YouTube could be for readers as well. A lot of us are readers. But I do see my channel as more of like I'm reaching writers versus readers. So
there's a difference. Yeah.
Yes. Dun dun dun. Goodreads. Who's Pedro? Richard, you read the book, right? That's great. And donde está Pedro? Displaced by Dan Hook. Okay. I only forgot his name because I don't think of his name very often. He is an author tuber. He doesn't post. I don't think he posts very often at all. I think he's posted like once in the last year. And I did go look up his channel last year. I think it was. I went and looked up his channel, and I think he's really funny. Like in his videos, he's funny.
He's very charismatic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was his fiance that did all of the like merch and stuff that tied into the book cover. It's pretty cool. Oh, look at that.
Well, it was not a book cover and title that grabs my attention. Displaced just seems, I mean, you could say the same thing about Tracker, but when you put it with that cover, because it's one word, I'm thinking just one word titles are really hard to pull off. But when you put it with that cover, I thought the cover is, this is really
It is a gorgeous cover.
Thanks. Yeah. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So I think it worked. But probably too, because green and yellow are my two least favorite colors. I remember the cover being yellow. So I don't know. I think it's a reader preference. Yeah. Also, Dan. Oh, yeah, but I did that one already. Did I go backwards? I went backwards. Yes, he says your cover not only has to look good, but it has to look good in a tiny thumbnail. So it's often the first thing people see. Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, Shanty has to see maybe shenanigans.
That's cute.
Shenanigans. I had a friend that called me that when I was growing up, but I don't think it was quite spelling. I had an E in it somewhere. And my Wi-Fi crashed.
Of course.
Shannon's newsletter subs aren't her fan base. They're her Shan base. Dan has kind of been busy with. Yeah, I kind of got that from his videos I watched last year. And there's his channel. Good idea to drop that in there. I think I did like watching him. Okay, let's go ahead and get into. Do we want to do our thoughts first about the rest of the book, or did we want to just jump into the chapters?
I think just go through the chapters.
That's what I'm thinking, and then we can kind of summarize our entire thoughts at the end.
Okay. So we start with chapter 26. This is in Lear's point of view. Now I had wanted to pick this up and read it right away because I was like, what's going to happen to Harley? Because we left off with Harley, you are the message. And of course, in my mind, she's being taken. I know she's going to be taken, most likely be taken by the serial killer, but now I've taken, then she'd be killed. And that most likely she's going to be dead either way. So I kind of already had that in my mind. I kind of thought he would kill her there. That was my thought. So I was looking forward to seeing that. We didn't get it for like several chapters. We didn't actually find out what happened. But in chapter 6 for Lear, it's we get to see the induction to the Freemasons, which I was looking forward. I liked that idea when I saw, we're going to actually get to see what the induction is. What is it that Adrian came up with? I think I was a bit, I wanted more. Like, I like the idea of what they did, which was put someone in a coffin and pull them through a swimming pool. I thought that was really cool, but I thought, that's it? But then the second guy died. So I was like, okay, well, I guess there's a chance you could die. Because the first guy...
It seemed a bit like, I could do that easy.
Yeah.
And
he explained that the coffin was only half filled with water. I'm like, okay.
Like, come on, like, sit up, man.
Yeah. I was like, unless you have like really bad claustrophobia, you're just making it through to the end of the pool, and then you're going to get out, and that's going to be fine.
Yeah. It's good times.
Yeah.
So I did think that was kind of cool. Lear did have a surgery that was funded by Bigsby, and it was kind of cool learning about the technology. And I thought it was a cool fact that the other scar that he had, the surgeon had put his initials into the scar that was left behind. I was like, oh my gosh, that's it's like graffiti artist. Like, this is my work. Here you go. So I thought that was really cool. I think the being a little bit let down by the coffin thing. I wanted something more, but then seeing the second guy die, but it was kind of glossed over a little bit. I mean, not glossed over, but just there wasn't much given on it. And I was like, I would want something big, but they do talk about it bigger later. So I guess he's viewing it. Lear, that's the name I was thinking of earlier. Why was I thinking like Felix or Felix? I don't know. Pedro in my head. But, later on, they do make kind of a big deal out of it when he's telling someone about what happened. Not only that, from this chapter forward, which is kind of interesting that we stopped right before this chapter happened. From this chapter forward, Bigsby is spelled differently than the rest of the book.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think it was on purpose. But there were some great moments. Like when Bigsby is telling Lear, when Lear chased after the silver-haired guy, and he was like, you assess the situation from your perspective, but you're here to protect me. You should be assessing it from my perspective or what's happening to me. And if this person is a threat to me. And I thought that's like a very real world moment that made this feel, it gave gravity to the chapter, I felt. So
yeah, I really like that bit. That was good.
So why would Vandersey, he goes back to Vandersey, and Vandersey is like, to get some help. And at first Vandersey does say, I'm not, he says to Vandersey, I'm not going to help. I'm not asking for help this time, but he does ask for help, and Vandersey helps. And I was just wondering why Vandersey would help him. Later on, we do find out who Vandersey is. So maybe he was thinking for his own good, but I think maybe being on Lear's point of view, he'd be like, well, why did he concede so quickly, say that he'll help me after he just gave me that look and didn't want to help me anymore? So that I was wondering about that, but I was glad that we got to see the induction. And yeah, other than that, I mean, I liked a lot of the stuff that was in this chapter. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I also wondered. Sorry, go on, Bethany.
Oh, no, you go for it.
No, you.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, no, I liked it. I felt like we had a lot happen. I did think it was a little weird that like we got like this induction to the Freemasons, and then like Lear kind of seemed unfazed by it. Like that chapter kind of ended with him being like, and he couldn't watch anymore, so he snuck out the way he came. I was like, oh, okay. Like I thought this moment would have like done something, because part of Lear's character and character development is like this tortured hero, like this morality of like, what is right, what is wrong, can I be redeemed for the wrongs that I've done? And so we see this moment of like, some moral quandary, and I thought maybe we'd get a little bit from Lear with that, but it was just like, oh, okay, that happened, cool. But I did propel the story forward, and it was a pretty snappy chapter, so I think it worked with the pacing.
I wonder if that's why I felt kind of let down by that induction scene, is because I didn't get Lear's like internal struggle with it.
And I think part of it is I'm a little bit more harsh when it comes to Lear's point of view, because he's one of my, like, I think he's my favorite character and point of view. So like I expect a lot, and I really enjoy that. So that could just be a me problem.
Yeah, there was a lot that happened, and it was all really good stuff. But I felt maybe it was a little compressed, and so we didn't get a chance to properly see the emotions, and in particular when Lear sees the guy dying in the pool. Like, that's pretty horrific. I mean, he's seen these guys going around and snorting everything and all the hookers and everything, but this is a whole new level, isn't it? And I would have liked more of his reaction. And I agree, I actually put a note, like, would Vandersey actually help him at this point? I really don't think that he would. He's got a lot to lose potentially by helping this guy, like,
especially based off of their last interaction too. Yeah, exactly. I just couldn't see that happening. But I love the way that it moved forward. The pacing was very good. I liked him, the fact that he got the room key so that he could watch. It was all quite sneaky and everything. Yeah, so it was a fun chapter. And I know you said it feels a little compressed. I don't know if you just want more of Lear's perspective on that. I thought the fact that it was compressed, it was a quick chapter. I think that this is the right time for that, which I think some of the chapters missed that mark later on in the book, because we're now in the third of the book. We are heading toward the climax. This is when things should be picking up. It should be going faster. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't have any scenes that don't move the story in some way or add to it in some way and give us something about what's going on. So I thought this chapter did good for that respect. All right, don't let me forget Ben. Ben said, chapter 26, a wonderful self-reflection for a mercenary weighed down by regrets. Interesting that he says a wonderful self-reflection, because I don't think we got that self-reflection. We're saying we didn't get that. Maybe it was a different part. So he planned to pull the trigger for the last time, but Faye had is this chapter 26? He planned to pull the trigger for the last time, but Faye had intervened, and all that remained afterward was to promise himself only forward, never go back. I doesn't feel like that's this chapter. Was it this chapter?
If it looks like I'm being rude and on my phone, it's because my Kindle died, so I'm on my Kindle on my phone.
Okay.
No, that wasn't that chapter.
It wasn't this chapter.
No.
I would say that did not sound.
Because I remember that line and I liked it. I highlighted it. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't remember that from this chapter. So
yeah, and we definitely, like, the end of chapter 26 is when the guy dies in the coffin, and all we get, they pull him out, and it just says Lear had seen enough. He snuck back out as quickly as he'd snuck in. We don't have any reaction. It's, I've seen enough. Like, I know what's going on, and
Okay, wait. In the first couple paragraphs, that's what he's talking about. But I didn't remember that. No cleansing, no redemption. So that must have been the self-reflection. So that first part is a section.
Oh, right.
It is. There's a section break in there. Then we get to the main meat of this chapter, which is the coffin and the induction. Well, the main meat of the scene starts with his surgery, and then I totally forgot about those first few paragraphs because I don't think they didn't really have as much impact on me. I think they would have had more impact if that came before the induction scene, and then was showing that tortured side of him again.
Yeah.
So okay, sorry. I thought that was. I just.
But then we get like another line. I'll have to find it because I remember really enjoying it, and it was something very similar, very poignant. Oh, I'll find it.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the next chapter, or did you want me to wait for you to find the line?
No.
You're good. Oh, okay. All right. Chapter 27. We're with Cyrena. Eamon comes over. So now I had to say again, I thought I was going to read this right away, but I wasn't able to. With everything with the AWC and me trying to get my Kickstarter campaign put together and doing everything I was doing, I didn't start reading this until yesterday. And when I saw Eamon's name, I was like, who's Eamon? I don't remember who Eamon is. I was like, okay, I know it's only been 2 weeks, but why am I forgetting this? And I know I don't have the best memory either, but that might be something to think about, even just us as writers, that we need to always think about if we're coming into a new perspective and we're talking about anything, we're bringing up something that came in a previous chapter, but it was like 4 or 5 chapters or even longer, because I think it was much longer ago that we were in Cyrena's point of view. It might be useful to put little clues in there. So we're like, when she goes to see Eamon at the front door, because he comes to her house or where she lives, say, something about silver hair. Now something is said about the silver hair, like 2 pages in, but right away I'm like, who's Eamon? I don't remember who Eamon is. Who's this guy? Is this like,
it's that like recall, the easy recall.
Yeah. I couldn't recall it right away. Again, I do have a bad memory, but then there might be people who are in my position as well. And then you do have people who are just busy, who put down books between chapters and then they don't come back to it for a while. Actually, I think I had a review on one of my books that said it was easy. The chapters were real short or something like that. And it was easy, put down, come back and pick up right where they left off or something. So I was like, oh, that is a thing with readers. So, yeah, but I thought this was interesting. So Eamon comes over. Eamon is the silver-haired guy. This is the guy she met from the last time we were with her. He met her. We kind of had the idea then that he was the person that was a serial killer. We kind of had that confirmed for us now that he is the serial killer person. She wants to get busy with him and even takes off her clothes and he turns her down. She gets upset. He makes her a meal. It's a very good meal. She really likes it. She asks why he turned her down. He says he's falling for her. And because I couldn't remember who Eamon was right away, and I think part of some of that conversation was before the silver hair line, I was like, okay, I think this should mean something. And when the silver hair line hit, I was like, okay, this is the serial killer guy. So everything he says. So it made me go back and read it. I was like, okay, what was he saying? And what was his true intention now? Because I was like, maybe this guy's falling for her. Who is he again? I don't know, but he's falling for her. And so I was on his side until I remembered that he was the serial killer. And then I started writing a bunch of notes. I was like, okay, he wants to get it off camera. And he said the camera is the reason why he wouldn't, do stuff with her. Because he didn't want to perform for everybody, or he didn't want to be, I don't think he used the word perform. She used the word perform, but he doesn't want to have the cameras on. But after remembering, from that silver hair line, that's who he was. I was like, oh, that's right. Okay. So he wants to get her off camera to kill. And I wrote that here. I said, silver hair guy, serial killer, acts like he doesn't know about, because she talks about, he says, tell me something real or something no one else knows or something along those lines. And she says that she went to Gaia. I always feel like I'm saying that wrong. And he doesn't believe her. And of course, now I know, okay, well, of course he doesn't believe her. He knows he does believe her, but he's saying it for the camera. And then he uses her real name. So I really did love this chapter. I liked how it was all set up. I liked everything about it. Lots of stuff there in between the lines. Once I remembered who the silver hair guy was. The only thing is I wondered about is he said her real name at the end. And it was on camera, and she didn't respond to that. Like she didn't say, "Don't say my name."
So
but
in
the camera, it blocks out the name, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, she's got like a setting on there.
Yeah, she's got a setting. So if anybody says her real name, it blocks it out.
I forgot.
But yeah, I guess with that whole chapter, because this technology, and essentially we have a third character in the room, which is all of the live stream viewers. Yeah. I was really concerned about that because it adds an element of tension to the whole scene because they're not alone. But I needed a little bit of like help with the technology because I remember that her name was blocked out, but it was like, did she just confess to finding this like hidden world to a million people?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I thought, well, she wouldn't say that in front of thousands of people, would she?
Then it made me doubt, like, did I miss something? Did she have it like muted or blocked or what? Like, help me remember what this technology can do. But yeah, so it was like this double-edged sword for sure of like having this like third character, the viewers in their room, just like, oh, it made me nervous. And it like knowing who Eamon is, the silver-haired guy, the serial killer. It's
Bixby spelled with one G in the rest of the story, right?
I think maybe in the like not on my Kindle, but I think maybe in some of the paperback. I don't know if there was like a
in some of it, not all the time.
Yeah,
not all the time, but I thought that I noticed some as well, but I didn't actually make a note of where. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed it in chapter 26, and then every time after that was with 2 G's, but I always thought it was the 1 G.
So in my Kindle, it's fine, but I noticed a few on the print, but I didn't write it down. So I wonder if there was.
Sorry. Well, that's okay. It's easy enough to just do a check, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I really like this chapter. I think the whole element of having like the live stream viewers added such great tension. My heart was just like, I was stressed. I was feeling stressed. So yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it was good. It was still unclear though at the end if she announced her discovery to the world or just to Eamon. I can't remember. Yeah, that might just be my recall and not understanding the technology fully, but yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this this chapter, and like you say, it was really, really exciting. I wouldn't have been able to put it down. I don't know. There was like, I don't know if I was just confused, but there was the bit when she said that she'd been at the murder spot and she'd looked through the window of the house. But then her viewers would see her there.
Okay, I made a note of that too, because I was like, in this technological world, wouldn't like, there's no sense of privacy, especially with her lifestyle.
No, I didn't know.
I don't think that any of that bothered me. I knew that the world was watching her. I knew she remembered the world was watching her. So I figured everything she was saying, she knew the world was watching her. So there was just the name part that got me. I would say it starts in chapter 2. Bixby is spelled with 1 G in the book. Sorry, Emma.
Good finding. Good finding. Then yeah, it was little things like, so Eamon turns her down, and then he goes and's going to make her food, but like he doesn't know her very well. He's hardly been here, but he seems to know what food's there and just be like knowing what's in the fridge and things. I don't know. It just seemed a bit like, how would he know what was in there? I can't even. Maybe if I can find the thing, I'll explain it better.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
And there was this one bit that drove me mad. The smells in the air made it hard for Serena to stay mad, but she wasn't about to let him know that. Her scowl remained. "You're mad," he said. And I was like, no, that drove me mad. I'm sorry, that bit did. But yes, red or white, he held up 2 bottles of wine. I forgot the pickles. Like, how would he know what wine was that? How would he know that there were pickles in the fridge? Was kind of what I was wondering. But I think that's me nitpicking.
I got the feeling that they have been seeing each other quite often. And there were a lot of chapters since the last one with Serena. So I just assumed that they've been spending a lot of time together.
And that just might be your little romance author coming through.
I know. And the food obsession. The romance and the food obsession together.
Okay. Exactly. I found Bixby with 2 G's in the second chapter. I wrote it down as 1. But I'm finding it with 2 G's. Why this whole time I've been thinking it's just 1? Maybe it was just 1 somewhere and I just gravitated to that 1.
I thought I spotted 2 maybe, but I could be wrong. There's definitely
overall,
1.
Your Kindle, your ebook looks fine for my preliminary search. So if anything else, you're pretty good. Let's be real. Most of our sales are ebooks.
Yeah. I mean,
this is coming from someone who had a character with 2 last names in Tracker. Whoops.
I must have seen it somewhere, maybe with 1 G, or I just wrote it down wrong from the very first time. So,
Oh, well, looks like problem solved.
Okay, so Ben's thoughts on chapter 27. Everything about Eamon in this section leads me to believe he is not the killer who lives or has his dead tributes on Gaia. Now, I didn't get that. Like, I didn't remember who he was, and I didn't get that at first. But then as soon as I knew who he was, I did know that. Even the first time I was reading this, it seemed odd to me. It stands out even more now. He's acting like a narrator investigating a murder, who is also the murderer being investigated in my mind. Even an outstanding actor and psychopath would not be able to fake it this well. There are a few distractions, and he does redirect well due to his desire to not get lucky. This feels like a red herring in the wrong way. I don't think I didn't feel this way. He didn't feel like he was investigating a murder to me. Did you guys feel like he was investigating a murder?
No, I felt like it felt like the leading questions towards the end with like Gaia was more of the focus.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I know Ben's read a previous version too, so I don't know if that was maybe in a previous version, but
yeah, or maybe he got the chapters mixed up and he's referencing another chapter.
Well, no, because he does. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. But when he says Amen, Amen's only Amen in Irena's chapters.
Gotcha.
And the thing is, he says even an outstanding actor or psychopath would not be able to fake this well. Well, at this point in the story, I knew it from the second third. I'd already pinpointed that this guy, he's not human. He's something else. I know that he's something else. So for me, this is not a red flag or red herring or anything, because I feel like he doesn't have to fake anything. He's not even human. We don't know what he's capable of.
I didn't really get that he like wasn't human, but I got like this person is not who he says he is, and like I think that was great. I think we got that vibe, and I think that was the intention, and it worked.
I think it's the way. It's something about the shadows, the way he came from the shadows or something. There was a line somewhere that was like, oh, he's probably not human. I have to go back to the book and see where I wrote that down, but there are some people who came to the chat, so I just want to say hello to them real quick. Let's see if I can catch everybody. So Lauren, hello. Thank you for stopping by. Oh, Angela, stuff sneaks by our brains while automatically correct things as part of why we're having someone else edit is important. Yeah, and I think he had someone who was editing his work for him. And then favorite lines from the section. There are a few that I've marked throughout the book. Did I do this one? Can you share the spelling change with Adrian? It's a lot easier to use. Oh, it's just with one G, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I wrote it down as 1G. I've been writing down as 1G in all my notes. You're doing notes. Never mind. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did that one. Kendall found none. Hello, Nicole. How are you doing? I think that's just a print issue. I need to figure that out for the next edit because it sucks.
Typos go in there all the time. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I have a few. I'll leave you a note of a few things that I picked up, but it's nothing that like detracted from the story. So like take confidence in that.
Yeah. Same. Other than all the. Never mind. So we'll go. Chapter 28 was Miggs, and I have to remind myself of this chapter here. So this is where she goes with Archie. They are with Zeki, the other police officer. They go onto the grid. She goes to confront Marco. They go to the Erdman farm, then to Cyrena's home, and then end at Faye's and see Lear's car. So I do kind of remember some of this one because this is my least favorite chapter in all of this that we read, because I feel like most of it didn't do what it should do. Is it this chapter? So, okay, I put on here, going onto the grid seemed useless to me is what I wrote down here. I do like the idea that, she went back to the farm and she found the plant, the cocoa poppy plant, which is the plant that makes Beatum. So we get that connection that that's connected to the Erdmans, who are supposed to be, like these people without technology and stuff like that. But they're like probably at the highest level of society. They have a lot of influence because they're making this plant that makes a drug. What are your guys' thoughts? I can't remember. I've got to go back through this again. I just read this yesterday. What are your guys'
This one kind of confused me a little bit just because we really did bounce around a lot and I couldn't really like define what the goal of the chapter was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was more focused on like, where are we going? What are we doing? Who are we with? Because there was just a lot happening. And then when the chapter ended, I wasn't actually sure like what got accomplished totally.
Yeah. I think that was my thoughts. I didn't know what this did for the story.
I was really hoping to get a little bit more from Miggs, because all things considered, like for Miggs being our main character, I don't really know a ton about her. So we see like at the beginning of the book, she is just given this promotion. It's a big deal, but we don't know if that's something that she's been really working for and really wanting. She seems excited, but she also just seems like a go-getter, despite like waking up in a sort of apathetic sort of way. And so I was like, okay, is this promotion something that she was really wanting? Like, we see that it was expedited. Was this like a surprise to her? Like, how does she feel about this position? And then she loses this job. She's demoted because of stuff happens. And again, I don't really see a ton of emotional reaction other than like her desire to solve this case and knowing that this case is so much bigger. I was just kind of hoping for a little bit more of like, how is she feeling beyond just like gotta solve the case mentality? It's like, what does this look like in her life? Is she struggling? Because we saw that she like was trying to be sober at the beginning of the book, wasn't, or broke her sobriety or something, and then we see like she's touch averse, but she's like flirting with these people, and like, I don't know, I was just kind of hoping for like a little bit more of like character development outside of the case itself. Does my rambling make any sense?
No. And I did go back through here. There were some nice descriptions. I thought a lot of this stuff was nice, but I did write, didn't learn anything new. So it, you know, I think this is the scene where they go into the grid. And I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. They're going to the grid. We've heard about the grid. We've seen people in the grid. Like, we've seen people, you know, locked into the grid. But when they go in the grid, it turns into like an lit RPG novel for a minute. And I thought that whole section was confusing, to be honest, because they had different names, which I did think that one of the names was confusing. She chose a name that meant Noble Journey.
Your names. I knew you were going to pick something up.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting, but I was waiting for the journey. And I don't think I really learned anything. We didn't learn anything from this. They were in different characters. There was some emphasis put onto the staff that she picked up because she showed it off to, she went in there with Archie, right? Mm-hmm. Was it Archie? Yeah, she went in with Archie. She showed the staff to Archie, and he's like, "Oh, I've not seen that before." And then there's nothing. I'm like, "Okay, this is supposed to go somewhere. This staff is supposed to be important," but I never saw the importance of it. They are supposed to fight this troll, and to be honest, I kind of skipped through it because I was just skimming through to see, okay, what's for the story, and because this was like a D&D, or if you were playing a fantasy video game, it jumped into that before then it went to what their mission was. And I understand that they weren't supposed to like drop themselves into the grid right where they wanted to go, because it would look like that they had a purpose. But I just felt that a lot of it was like side quest stuff that didn't add to the story. And I thought it's cool to build up the world, but at this point in the story, let's get through. Let's go. We're heading toward the climax. We should be going fast.
I thought it was fun.
It was fun.
I thought it was fun, and it was different. I don't know.
I just didn't think it was needed for this part of the story at this point. I'm ready to move on and get to, okay, we're getting these big pieces of information. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't.
No, I thought that whole world was interesting. And I was hoping that because we get to see like this other side of Miggs and Archie, like, yeah, I was just hoping for some more personal development. And I think it's because I really do care about Miggs as a character, which is a testament to the author for making me care so much. And I think a lot of Miggs's like personality has been like focused on solving this case. And so I was like, well, technically it's not her job anymore. So what else is driving her? What is her moral like compass behind this and whatnot? And I think also that part of that is because that's such a heavy component for Lear's point of view. So I think I was just like hoping for some more with the other characters.
We also have it where she sees everything, or most everything, that Serena just did in the previous chapter. And we got all the same exact info that we got from Serena's chapter for that section, because this had many sections. This was a long chapter with many sections. Yeah. So we got exactly everything that happened in the previous chapter. And I thought, we don't need all this information again because we just got it. So I was like, either you could cut the previous scene short and we pick up where we pick up where Meg sees the rest of it. I just feel like it was just, especially at this point in the story, when I'm ready for it to, keep picking up and going.
You want your answers.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, we just saw all this. I didn't need to read this again because I didn't learn anything new. It'd be one thing if she saw like all of it again and she was adding like her commentary or her thoughts or something, and I didn't feel like there was much added to it that gave me anything new. And
I will say I loved Archie in this chapter. I don't know why. I thought he added like such a good levity.
But what did you guys think about the choice? So they're playing characters in the grid and they have different names, which I was cool with because you would do that. But when we're in Meg's point of view and Meg starts thinking of herself as a they and calls herself by her name in the grid, in the prose. And I what did you guys think about that choice? No, didn't think about that choice.
Yeah. No, I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, like that's maybe not how I would have done it, but it didn't particularly like bother me. I enjoyed this section. I thought it was really good fun. I love to see Archie and Nick together because we haven't actually seen that much of them working together. It's been very much ships in the night. She'll come and she'll say like, oh, we need to do this, and he'll give her something or whatever, and then they move on. So I was liking seeing them kind of in the field together a little bit. Yeah, I enjoyed this. And I liked seeing Miggs go back to the farm as well. Although still no repercussions from when she was beaten up.
And I would say that with that scene, when she went back for the farm for a specific purpose, right? To go get the stuff and I thought, I wrote it down. I was like, is this the best way to use police stuff? Isn't there something easier?
You think that she would go like to the underground tunnels and there'd be somebody there?
Or something, or even back to the police station and find someone to help her go get some stuff or whatever. I don't know.
I thought Archie would be like her go-to man, kind of like Q in the Bond movies. Like I thought, So it was interesting. Like I'm sure there's a reason for it, and I do enjoy. The reason was
so that she could see the farm, the actual drug. But I think that could have been combined with the scene where she escaped. That would be my thought.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this chapter had a lot to it, and then also like not much happened. So it depends on like what the intention and the goal was. So I think a lot of it was more world building, kind of like setting up more of what's going to happen. But I'm not so mad about the pacing of this chapter just because the next few chapters are like lightning speed.
Oh. Yeah, this one really slowed me down. Okay, and this is the one that has a question I asked you guys behind the scenes. And when I was just looking for Bigsby, the other spelling of Bigsby, I found the answer, which was when she actually finds out Marco's last name. Now, this is Eamon. Eamon's just a different name, but his real name is Marco. And she finds out his last name is Patty. And the detective thinks, well, something along the lines of a course. Where was it at? She heard his surname, Magdalia, nearly screamed with rage at her naivety. And I was like, this seems like I'm supposed to know what his last name means. And I'm like, what is this? And I did just find it. And I had asked the ladies behind the scene because I didn't remember where it was from. It was early in the book. That was when they were on the other planet. The very first person killed by the serial killer was CN Patty, which was probably his father, maybe.
Oh.
But see, I didn't connect Patty to that first instance because, to be honest, I think there's just there's a lot in this book. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of world building. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of names. There's so much to try to keep track of. And then
and we're breaking it up as well.
Yeah. So if you take any breaks in between, you're like, I don't remember what that. I think it would be another good place to put in there. Oh, of course, that would be the name, my naivety, and then say CM Patty, the very first victim of the serial killer, or whatever. Something along those lines. Just to, and I think this is actually something that they suggest, and I say they is some god or something, but that if you have multiple point of views, you really do have to kind of it's almost like writing a sequel. When you write a book that's a sequel, you want to remind readers of what happened in the first book without hitting them over the head with all the details, but you still want to remind them of what happened in the first book in case if they forgot between the books. And I think when you have multiple POVs in a book, it's kind of the same thing. You have to kind of remind your readers what information do they know, what information did they store, what information did they think was important, or where did we leave them, or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm hearing crows. Is that me?
That's me. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yes, I'm gonna go shut the window. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
No.
That was because I think someone's sprinting. It's a Sako Tumi when she sprints. Her timer has crows.
Oh, you're like, do I still have a timer going?
That's what I was wondering if I was like, do I have a tab up somewhere?
That's hilarious. I'm still gonna shut it because I'm cold.
Oh, okay. So she said that she liked Lear. Did you still find Faye as your favorite character by the end of the book?
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
I think so. I like Faye.
Yeah, I think she's.
And I
So
like it when she gets all glowy later on.
Yes, right. Who was your favorite character by the end of the book, Bethany?
Lear, probably.
Oh, that's
I'm a
what I thought you
sucker.
would say.
Yeah. I love, I mean, like you've read some of my stuff. And so like having just like a character that struggles with morality, but is someone of action and constantly having to make decisions. Oh, I love that. Because they don't have time to sit and think and whatnot. They just have to decide, but then they like deal with the repercussions. I don't know. I love it. I think Lear kind of encapsulated what I really love in a character.
I think he is right up your alley too with the characters I read in Tracker. Like the tortured soul, that's your main Tracker guy. Okay, chapter 28 from Ben. The commentary in this chapter fixed some of my issues in the previous chapter. He feigned shock and surprise, asked questions, but he knew. Adele Ferris pointed to a silver-haired monster on the screen. He's the guy. I still don't understand why the guy went through all the effort and lies to discover her secret. I really like Migdalia's confrontation with Marco. I think this is all new from the earlier version I read. From what I recall, she was asking him questions and over time came to the conclusion he was the killer. I like her being up front, which makes, it does make her more active. It also, I think it goes along with her character too. So I would agree with all that. All right, chapter 29, Faye, are we ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I agree. I think what you said, Bethany, is that the next couple chapters are really quick. They go, I agree. They were really good. I think they were really awesome to get that, that momentum that I was really looking forward to get through to the secrets and stuff. In this one, Faye and Lyra get busy on screen, and they go to the core of the arc or the spark. I want to say arc is spark. They get set up in a hotel room, and they go into a trip to cleanse Lear of his demons, or at least to start the process. So I like this chapter. I didn't really write a whole lot. A couple notes. Faye, she reads auras, and she reads his aura. I think it's on the third page, the third full page in the novel or the chapter when she reads his aura. And it's a huge part of Faye that she reads auras. I would have liked it up front. Like, what does she see in the beginning? It was just something I wanted. It wasn't anything that detracted from the story. I just wanted to see that, what was his aura before when she's reading Lear's aura. There was a typo maybe, but I know it's a typo. There's there's two sentences that there's no space between two sentences, but and I was like, yeah, this is what I thought. Reminds me of the core, the inside of the core, the floating walkways and stuff. I said it reminds me of the Death Star in Star Wars, and a little bit Harry Potter, but the stairs that move in Harry Potter. But the idea, the way it's set up in my head is like, this is like the inside of the Death Star. That was what I thought.
That's fun.
Yeah. I like this chapter. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I liked it. I wanted them to use protection.
I thought the same thing.
I really wanted them to use protection. I'm sorry. No, sorry.
The romance author in you.
Okay, it's important to use protection.
And the thing is, she realizes he's worried about her being pregnant, but I was like, well, what about STDs?
See, it's not just me. Bethany's laughing at me. It's not just me.
And I would say that's a movement now. Anything that's romance in contemporary times, people are looking for that they're at least discussing ahead of time before they do anything. And that's being written into novels with romance now. So
I will say for the whole romance thing, like, I wish I was more interested in it, but I'm not, because it feels so secondary to like everything else going on. So, I mean, I love a good little subplot with some romance and whatnot. But it is just like, I almost forget like, oh yeah, like they're together and they have this history. And it was almost like, oh, this was a recall, not like an interesting part for me, because it doesn't, I don't know. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more in the future books with the romance, and it's going to create, and I know that's pretty common for series to start out kind of like warm and then it like heats up and ramps up as the series goes. But for me, it was just like like I felt like you could have taken out the whole romance from this book and it wouldn't have changed anything. Now, I definitely think in the future books that is not going to be the case. They'll have a much more integral part. But I was just like, oh yeah, they're together. I forgot. Cool. And then we moved on. Like, so it didn't really like stick out to me, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I can see that because I don't feel the romance was really built up from the very beginning. I mean, I felt some flirtation in a chapter, I think that nobody else did, between Lear and Miggs in the very, very beginning.
Yeah, I did. I still think about that because I was wanting that.
Yeah. So, but I don't think it was really built up. I think that if you, the only one that we really came off as really sexual when we first met her was Faye, because her story, her very first scene, she's getting out of bed with a woman that she was just with. So, so I could definitely see that for sure. I did have like a kind of a question that kind of stuck in my head with this chapter that at the very end wasn't answered, which is, and then maybe it's not important and may not be important to anybody, but she tells him that she can't get pregnant. Don't worry, totally fine, is what she says. He's afraid I could get pregnant, but she can't get pregnant. And the reason why it comes back up for me at the very end is because they all talk about running away together to Gaia. And I'm like, but then we also find out that she is of the bloodline that came from the people, from the scientists who went down to Gaia. And her ancestor was conceived on Gaia. So the bloodline includes magic from Gaia. But if she can't get pregnant, does that mean that she can't ever get pregnant? Like, is this like a permanent thing that she can't get pregnant? Does that mean that her bloodline's going to end and all the magic they got from Gaia is dead? That I was wondering.
Maybe that's something that will come up, in the next book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part really didn't bother me, but now that you've mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, interesting. But I feel like a lot of my questions that went unanswered, I have the expectation of being answered in the following book.
Sure.
Ben's notes for this chapter. Okay, he didn't go any further. He stopped on chapter 28. He has overall thoughts.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And he talks about the ending at the beginning. So I'll talk about his overall notes then when we get to the end. All right, it was chapter 29. Yeah.
Oh, I did wonder if there's all this radiation that they've been told about. I did wonder why they would just like let through to it, if it could potentially be dangerous. Like that puzzled me a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they gave them lead-lined suits, but I don't think they ever put them on.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, chapter 30. Are you guys ready for that one? Yeah. All right, Lear's point of view. So they start the trip with the psychedelics or whatever it is that they use. I don't remember what they use. But I know that they do some drugs. They're doing a trip. It's to guide Lear through his demons. So this is the actual guiding through him facing everything. I think a lot of it's interesting. When Harley appeared before him, and he says, "You're not dead." He says, "You don't think I belong among your list of dead? You're not dead." He says, this is the bottom of 363 in the book. And I'm like, oh, she's about to tell him she's dead. She got killed. And of course, and then I turn to the next page, and she doesn't say yes or no that she's not dead. She goes on to something else, and she just says, "I was beside you in the war. So of course I've been damaged as well." Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, this doesn't tell me anything, but I thought it was well done. I liked it, and I don't think he meant the page break to be where it was at. It just added to the tension for me. And I wrote sneaky. I think she's dead for real, but I don't know still, and it's still like this question. I'm like waiting to find out what's going to happen. And I did have the thought that I don't know, other than I guess maybe this progresses Lear's character for him to face his demons, and it shows him moving through the process. I wasn't sure how else this was important, everything in here for the book, but I wasn't against it. I think maybe I just wanted something more, and I did put on here, no more sex. I guess, when they woke up in the morning, or not when he woke up in the morning, she was gone, Faye was gone. But, they do this trip, and then it's over, and they climb into bed, and then that's it, right? It doesn't say anything else. And I was like, they should have had sex again. We don't need it on page, but I would have liked to, he got back in bed with her, especially, I don't know, when you get with a new partner, you kind of want to do it all the time. So I don't know.
Maybe he was tired, bless him. He just had a tough time.
Maybe.
Just wasn't feeling like it. He had a headache.
No, I liked this chapter because it also kind of gave me a window of maybe what Faye's guidance looked like for Mitch and why am I blanking on his cousin's name? The other murder victim. What is her name? Why am I?
The story, the rebirth and birth of
Mitch.
Basically, at the very beginning, we see that Faye knew Mitch and the other victim, Mitchell and the other victim.
Bella.
Yeah, Bella, because
Bella,
she had done a very similar service of like guiding them through a trip type thing. And I was like, oh, I wonder what that looks like. So it's fun that we got to kind of see what that actually looks like on the page. So.
Yes, Richard, I did say it, and I feel the heat in my cheeks from saying it.
Oh,
I was like, I can't believe I just said that, but yeah, I said it. It doesn't mean I don't like write it, but write the word. It's just different saying it on air.
So casually, I know.
What about you, Emma? What did you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it, as well as showing, it was important for Leah, but it also, him and Faye, it's another kind of bond between them, and him trusting her and everything. So I thought that there was that as well.
Yeah, I went back and forth about what I thought about the usefulness of the chapter, but I did like seeing that Lear was doing, and after you said that, Bethany, about you get to see what Faye does, I was like, yeah, that was pretty. I was into it because of that. There was no part of the chapter where I was like, oh, this is boring, I don't want to read this. It wasn't at all like that. It was a very good chapter, very well written. So I just wasn't sure at this point in the story, but then it comes at a good point because he's going through all of his demons right now too. So yeah. All right, next chapter is chapter 31. We're in Faye's point of view. So I had the idea, okay, we went from Lear to Faye. Faye left him in the morning to continue on without him. And of course, he was supposed to go with her. That was his thought and his motivation, his intentions. And, she went alone. So there were parts about this chapter I absolutely loved. And there were parts I was like, I don't know, because I feel like I was a little lost in a few places. So this is where she goes to, like, and we already heard the name the ferryman, which, I mean, if you guys know mythology, it's in Greek and Roman mythology. The ferryman is the one who does it cross the river Styx to take you to Hades, hell, whatever you want to call it. But in the mythologies is Hades, but people equate that to hell. And so you get a little bit of that in this chapter. I love those little things, like the ferryman was said. And then, that came before, it came now, although the ferryman, the was capitalized and not capitalized at different points. So that was just something I picked up on. I would prefer to go without the capitalization, but that would be my preference. But yeah, so there's a ferryman. So, and they do cross water, but it's not like, and I liked the pleasant twist on it. They didn't cross water like in the mythologies, right? They're on a boat and they're on the river Styx and they cross to the land on the other side. Here, they go in a submarine and they go into the water. I think the parts I didn't like was clearly seeing some things, like this water is in the middle of the spark, but then I felt like sometimes I thought it was, I don't know, this was the middle of the spark, but then I thought they were on Gaia at different points. Like it felt like they were on Gaia, but then they were on the spark, and I just kept getting confused. That could have been me too. But the one thing that kept going to was the little man, was the ferryman. Like he explains what he looks like. He says a small man with pointy ears and a hooked nose, and I put, why nothing else? That's what I wrote down. Why nothing else? Why just pointy ears and hooked nose? This is not something, pointy ears is not something that people have, not normally. So why isn't she saying something? Is this an elf? Is this a dwarf? Or is she just
got a pointy head as well?
Well,
that helps.
Let me get to that point. Hold on. I got a point with that.
So
it's okay. So I was like, why isn't she making a note of why this person has pointy ears and nobody else does? Shouldn't this be a brand new look for her, for something that she's seen? Or has she seen people like this before? Is this even a person? And that's why I put, is it elf? Is it a dwarf? And then we get two more descriptions throughout. The pointy head, white hair. And I put not what I saw. I did not see a pointy head and white hair, but that's because it wasn't given with the first description. Now, I do understand there are times you don't want to just lay out all the description, the way a person looks all up front. I understand that that's not always the best way to do things. But I think if it comes to a different race, then especially if it's not something that we're used to seeing, like, I mean, if we're on a planet where there's elves and dwarves, then we might say, okay, there's elves and dwarves here. I did not think we were on a planet that had anything else other than humans. So other than I've thought,
Cybermen.
huh?
And shadow men, or a shadow man.
Well, yeah, and I kind of thought maybe he was an alien of some type. But that was at this point I wasn't thinking. So we got white hair and beady eyes later. That was another description. I was like, beady eyes. So beady eyes maybe could have waited, because I don't think beady eyes is a description for something that's different from humans necessarily. So there are people that are described as beady eyes. But the parts that weren't human, I would have liked that all up front. And then some type of thought from her of, I don't know. Bethany, you look like you're like, I'm ready for you to be done talking so I can say my thought on this. No.
I'm just trying to think of because all of your points make sense and I totally see where you're coming from, but I'm trying to think back to what was my initial reaction, because I didn't think about any of that. But now I'm wondering if I grossly underestimated who this character was, because I was definitely not thinking other race or otherworldly. So I'm wondering what did I miss? Did I accidentally skim and not realize it? So I was casually looking back to see what I did.
I think I was just carried away with the story. I was wanting to see where she was going to go. So now I'm looking back and I'm like, oh yeah, is he a different race? But that didn't
I literally did the same exact thing.
Yeah. It never says what he is. There's no reaction. There's no questions. There's no nothing, but he's got pointy ears and a pointy head. I'm like, these are not normal human. I mean, it could be if someone had surgery, because there are people who have surgery that get their ears pointed. So if it was something along those lines, I would just I would have liked it clarified. Is this someone who just made themselves look different, or are they a different race? But then the way he acts and the way he does the submarine, all this, the fact that he's in this position, that he's known as the ferryman. We don't know what his name is, by the way. And he says, I don't like that name, but he doesn't say what his name is. So I'm like, why say you don't like it if you're not going to tell her what to call you?
I did get the vibe that he was someone important, someone set apart, but I didn't know if it was a secret society thing, a job given to you by birth, or an isolated job that this is the only thing you do because it's so sacred and private. But now that you brought all those things up, I'm like, oh, is there, because I do forget at times, other than when we're directly with Faye, that there's this other this magical element, and I'm sure it doesn't just stop with Faye and Faye's family. So I do forget, okay, maybe there is something else to it, this other worldly race type thing. I don't know, but I'm sure we'll find out.
And I think Marco's final, when Faye goes into Marco's mind, he has pointed ears, if I remember right. And I was like, oh, is the ferryman the same race? I mean, is he from the planet? Is he actually from Gaia too? Is he an ancestor, or is he a brother or cousin or something to the Shadow Man? And I don't know what those connections are, because nothing is ever said of it. So I don't know. I would say take out the stuff that's not human if he is human, or if he is human and he had cosmetic surgery done, say something along those lines, because it did really. I am a fantasy writer, so I pick up on these different things, and I'm like, what is this? Is he human? It doesn't look human the way he's being described. I don't know. That was my thought. And I kept wanting to go to that. I was like, wait, what is he? What is he human? Those are most of my comments on here. Yeah, that's what I put. I said they feel like more of a big deal needs to be made of this guy, because he's obviously something different. But if he isn't, different then. And then it said that when she did get out of the submarine, that the soles of her feet are on the white sand. And I was like, wait, she's not wearing shoes? I don't remember her not wearing shoes. Did she
never wear shoes?
Yeah,
I guess that was the answer. I didn't remember. Yeah, I did wonder that. I was like, is that something I just don't remember about her?
Yeah, I remember it being a thing, because I was at all times I'm thinking how dirty her feet must be.
When she runs into the black wall, I could not envision that. I couldn't see it in my head. So when she's walking on the land and she sees jungle, roots, stones, soil, it's all black, soft, and gives under her weight. And then the black metal met her face with a clang. And then there's people standing there. And I'm like, I'm not seeing how this is changing. I can see, okay, she hit the black metal with a clang, but then something should be said, now that she hit it, this whole wall appeared before her along with two guards or whatever. But we don't. We just hear she walks into a metal thing, and then there's two guards there. And I'm like, but she's seeing everything. She's describing everything. So does she not see the wall and the guys, or is she looking at her feet? I read that a couple times. I was like, it says she charges into the jungle, but she's not looking at her feet. So I don't know how. I couldn't envision the scene. That lost me, and I was like, okay.
I feel like I didn't struggle with it just because I was so curious about what was happening, but I definitely filled in a lot of the details with like my own thought, because I feel like there was just enough lacking, where you could kind of envision whatever you wanted to, which might have been the intention of the author, like give them just enough that their imagination can fill in the rest, or maybe it wasn't that important and I'm putting too much pressure on it. But that part didn't really bother me so much, just because I was like, we're going to get some answers, what's going to happen. And I was more excited about that part than anything.
Yeah.
And then
oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, the last thing that I marked here again was with the ferryman, and at the very end, and maybe it's something I missed. It says that he has a mangled arm that she fixes, and I didn't remember his arm being mangled.
Yeah, same.
Oh, I did. I remember that bit. I was just very confused and trying to kind of visualize the whole place that she goes to, because it's the center of this thing that they all live in, but there's like an ocean that's huge and has sea creatures. Mm-hmm. But where they live was a series of ships that have joined together.
Yeah.
So how is there like an ocean and sea creatures?
That was my thought. Yeah.
I didn't understand how that could be, and just the vastness of what that would be. And obviously there's not going to be any sun or sol or anything under there, because it's inside, and I was very confused. But that could have just been me.
No, I said that at the beginning. I couldn't envision this world inside of the Spark, and I thought, well, maybe they're on Gaia, but then they're not in Gaia; they're in the Spark, and that I couldn't envision with the ocean and everything. I just couldn't. I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah, I think my mind kept trying to fill it in with that it was Gaia, but then I was like, no, they're not. It's not Gaia. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I grossly underestimated that, because in my head I was like, she's in this like submarine ship type thing. She's like in the center of the Spark, therefore she's like not in the Spark. It was almost like I felt like she left, because I have this very clear picture of what like this conglomeration of ships looks like and how it creates the world. Mm-hmm. But yeah, in my head, I like separated it. But you're right, because it is described as like a very internal, integral.
Yeah, they go way down inside the Spark.
Yeah, well, now I'm confused.
Yeah. I did go back through, and I can't see anywhere where the little man, the ferryman, has mangled his arm anywhere. I meant to go back and look at that earlier, and I didn't have time.
I thought I remembered the mangled arm.
Yeah. Do we have any other notes or thoughts about chapter 31?
Other than the slightly confusing description, no, I think we got a lot more from Faye. I do really like that she opted not to take Lear with her. I thought that was like a good choice, and I enjoyed that he woke up to a note from her, and her reasoning seemed so logical and like not even like selfless. It was just it was selfless, but that wasn't the reason she was doing it. It was just very clear, like, I care about you, therefore I don't want you to go. And it's not one of those cliche moments of like, oh no, don't risk your life for me. It was very much like, it's about your soul and your mind and like who you are as a person. And I don't know, I really like that. I felt like it really developed both her and Lear's characters, and then even their relationship together. So very well done with that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all those. And I love the magical part when she does meet up with Gaia, and then she comes back and fixes the arm that, and Adrian did say the last time this chapter is a bit clueless to his origins. So just talking about the ferryman, who he is, which we'll learn more in book 2. And that was one of the questions I had that was not answered by the end, which is, where did she send him? Because she says, would you like to go home? He says, yes. And she touches him and sends him home. And, after having read the book, and that was one of my questions I wrote at the end of the book was, well, where did she send him? And then why did she use the magic to do that? Because she says that she has limited magic. She's borrowing magic, and she doesn't have very much. And I'm like, why would she spend the magic to do that if she has limited magic, when she wouldn't know if she would have enough? It is almost like, as the author, we know how it's going to end. We know she's going to have enough magic. We know we're going to write it that she has enough magic. But there's no tension set up there until later. The tension is set up that she doesn't have a lot of magic, and she's just be sparing with it. And that's why she's not always glowing. But then if you go back and you look at this, but she used magic to do this. So, and it kind of, I could understand, maybe in the moment she was doing that, but then again, because I don't know who he is, he seems to be somebody different other than human, but I don't know anything about him. I just didn't understand why she would do that, so.
I could kind of overlook that as someone who has tried to write fantasy and enjoys writing fantasy and like understanding there's like a soft magic system. But I felt like because we had like the parameters of like, this is finite, then it was like, okay, we have the scarcity mentality. Whereas like before, I feel like I could have overlooked a lot of that with just a general soft magic that we develop later. I think soft magic systems are really useful and really fun in that sense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we did have that hard line of like, this is finite, this is borrowed. And so then it was like, okay, what about this ferryman? What makes him so special that he gets this gift?
Because we're not told that he's who he is or what he is, or even any clue. I mean, even if it was something along the lines of, her thinking, this is not a human, or something like, wow, who is this? What is this? I've never seen anybody that's not human. He's obviously not human. Where is he from? And then when she sends him home, like, okay, well, now she knows something about him, which maybe hopefully we'll find out later, but it didn't click, I think, for me, in that respect. But yeah.
And he does, I can't find anything about the mangled arm. But what I can find is he had one hand on the controls and the other extended out before him. But there's nothing about it being mangled.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get injured.
Right. He doesn't get injured. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I was like, did I miss? Because I remember mangled, but then I was like, was it just that bit? So I was just going through it, and no, I can't find anything.
Yeah. But again, there was lots of great things about this chapter. The whole thing with Faye's development, her getting the power. I mean, there's so many things I loved about this chapter. So
I love it all glowy.
Yeah, me too. 32 is in Roy, which if you don't remember, he's one of the Erdmans. They're going to go to war. It's the whole setup that they're going to go to war. And Roy's brother Pan volunteers him and Roy to go to war against the politicians and take them out. And there is, let's see, I think overall I liked it. I liked being in Roy's point of view with it. There was a line that I really, really loved in this. It's when Roy looks at Pan and he says, why did you volunteer us? And he says, we'll be the heroes of the story when we win. We'll have handed them the spark on a silver platter. Pan is what Roy says to him. And Pan says, exactly. And he smiled. And so the line is, his smile was so big, it formed lines on his face Roy had never seen before. And there's so much said in that line, like about Pan. Like he's never smiled like that ever before, because those lines have never been seen by his own brother. So I really love that line. And then we also find out that Paleo is still alive. Well, sort of. The grandma says they have a hacker, likes making trouble for the stuff, like with the politicians right now. Our interests are aligned with the rest of the Spark, thinking the hacker to be dead. They'll never see us coming. I wrote Paleo is still alive. Of course, we find out later there's more than one Paleo, but there's that hint. And so I think there's a lot of good parts of this chapter. One of my main notes for this book would be, I think that it would have been better if it was done with just 3 points of view, with 3 main, Faye, Migdalia, and Lear. We wouldn't get this chapter if it was just those 3 points of view, though. So I don't know how else this would be shown, other than it would just show up. I love the chapter. I love most things about it. The only thing that I questioned was this red sash. And I was thinking this must have been something, maybe it was said earlier in the book, and I just don't remember what this means. But it's pointed out, this red sash, that, where is it at? Roy's parents. Black shirt, tan pants, black hair, black cat as everyone. Except for Velda, she has a red sash across her waist. If she ever caught him staring at that sash, they both burst into tears. And I'm like, the red sash, they burst into tears. I don't recall what that connection is. And that's probably just me not remembering. Again, this might be a good time to bring it back in, maybe, or some hint to it, because I don't remember it.
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
At the same time, like we keep saying, like, oh, we need help with recall, but I bet if like we read it like in a faster succession and there was more recall, we'd be like, we know, like you keep going. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know. It's a hard point. It
was very broken up for us.
Yeah.
Adrian has just pointed out in the chat that the ferryman, we missed it, and he does injure his arm at the end of the previous chapter. The submarine crashes. I missed it even when I went back to it. So
Yeah.
he does. Ferryman was crawling out from the wreckage of his sub, coughing and clutching his arm.
I did miss that.
Yeah.
I see that too. Now that you said it,
Yeah.
it's right there on the same page where I said mangled arm.
Apologies, Adrian.
Sorry.
See how 3 of us can still miss stuff? You
Yep.
know, we're only 3 readers in this vast world of readers. So again,
Yeah, we need
don't
Ben
take
back.
everything we say with a grain of salt. We're all very busy ladies and clearly focused on other things.
So yeah, he did say that. I thought I read something else somewhere else. Crashes. Last lines of chapters, big clue. Went full Tarantino with Faye. No shoes.
That's cute.
Yeah. Okay. I think that was it so far. I keep feeling I'm missing something. That I saw. Oh, Sharon. Yeah. Yeah. So the ferryman's Sharon, the one who does the crossing of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right. Oh, did we finish? I just said my notes about chapter 32. What are your guys' notes about chapter 32?
It was good. It was kind of a nice little break from the action, if you like, because we just had such an actiony scene, and you get to see more of the crazies. We love the crazies. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, same. I like getting to know more about Roy's POV and stuff. It's one of those, like, again, double-edged swords of having so many points of view in a book where it's like, oh, I really like this guy. I wish we had like more time with him. But also, like, to give him more time would be taking away from other characters. And it's this hard balance for sure. But yeah, I really do enjoy Roy.
But I have to say, I felt there was enough of a POV for him that I felt for him when, he met his end later. I did feel connected enough to him. But again, my overall suggestions would have been that this would have been a better book in just 3 points of view. But that's me with all the details that were in this book and trying to remember everything and all the world building. And so, yeah, that's just me. So chapter 33 is Harley. Did you say what you thought, Emma? You didn't, did you? For 32?
Yeah. I did. Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 33 is Harley. She's trapped in blackness with no way out. She gets a chance to talk to Marco. And it talks about this like black metal that she's feeling all around her, or it's metal and it's really, really dark. She can't see anything. There's nothing. She can see nothing. So I'm thinking it's black metal. I don't know if black metal was actually put together as 2 words, or two words back to back. And I put made of the black metal, like at the core. And we do get confirmation later in a different scene that yes, it was the same type of material, but I kind of thought it might be the same end. And when she was trying to find the way out, I had the cask of Amontillado vibes. Like I thought she's bricked in. There's no entrance in or out because she's bricked in. So, yeah. And I do have to say, at this point, I was kind of guessing back and forth. Okay, because I'm still thinking at this point that Marco is not human. And we got Sharon, we got the ferryman, we got the idea of the ferryman and crossing the ocean, the water. And I started thinking, okay. And then there was something else that was said about, or some of the clue that was somewhere else. And I had remember thinking, oh, could it be that Marco is the devil? But I was like, he seems too human, but it doesn't mean that he couldn't be the devil from our Earth. But then when we had these vibes, I was like, well, how does he fit into, is this like Greek mythology mixed with the devil kind of like vibes? And we actually do kind of get the biblical side of things because we have angels, the idea of angels and things like that later. But then in here again, he says he's talking to her. Marco talks to Harley and he says the line, I am simply my father's son. And again, I put, yeah, Lucifer vibes again. Because I'm thinking he's Lucifer and, but that was my thought from that. Not quite the same thing. I don't think we don't ever really quite know, but I kind of feel like because there's the idea that that Faye is like an angel for a little while with the wings that come out, the light and everything. That's just kind of like an angel. Mm-hmm. I think the word angel is even used. And like, okay, so then maybe he's one of the demons or fallen angels or something, but we don't really get that clarified or not clarified, but supported by the text. So okay. I like this chapter. I was glad to see her alive. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. There's a lot in this chapter, yeah, and I was getting very similar vibes with the angel. And then I think Faye was even described by Lear when he was recalling their very first like meeting at the park, how she was angelic.
The angel in the park. Yep.
Yeah. So like I enjoyed that. But with that, it's like okay, I'm getting very like Earth vibes, which we see later, like why and whatnot. But it was like something that I can like relate to and like recall with, but at the same time, I was like, this is like this whole other new world. Why are we getting like the same? I don't know. So again, it like pulled me a little bit from the story where I was like, because we have all of this original stuff happening, but then like not at the same time. Like basically there was like so much, there's just a lot happening. It was hard for me to like kind of like sort my thoughts, but at the same time, the pacing was really fast. So I didn't really have to like sit with my thoughts for too long.
I think we forgot to mention in Faye's chapter, we found out that New Gaia is old Earth. It's actually Earth.
Oh, yes, we did forget to mention that, didn't we?
So when I got the whole Lucifer vibes again, I thought it was perfect because we do have the mythology.
Yeah.
For those who are Christians, it's not mythology, but for those who are not Christians, Christianity is mythology. So for that, so I didn't mean to ever say that on screen, but I have thought that before. But in the stories of Christianity, you have the angels and stuff. I was like, oh, that goes right along with one of the the religions that was there on Earth.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, and I think that was like one of the things where it's like, okay, this is why I'm getting so many like Earth vibes, and that this is like not necessarily otherworldly, is because it's not.
Yeah.
And so like that was like a fun twist, but at the same time I was like, okay, I'm still confused because wasn't the point of the ship leaving Earth? How is that there? Like, and I know we're gonna get more answers and all of that, but it was like, oh, okay, like that's kind of fun that we get that connection, and then you can kind of visually see what maybe Gaia would look like, and then it makes more sense about how the archivists have all of these things, because it was not necessarily
they can just go down and get it.
Yeah, so it's like tied a lot together.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think the pacing is really, really spot on at this part of the book. There were bits that I read twice just because I knew that I was reading them very quickly because I was carried away with the story, and it was like, okay, slow down. You're going to need to talk about this.
We're going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the next chapter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I this was another thing I meant to go look up and I couldn't find it. Which is, what was the story behind Faye's dad went to jail, and the grandma had something to do with that. What was it that was said that Faye's grandma did? That is the reason why Faye hates her grandmas, because whatever she did, her grandma sent her dad to jail, and she takes full credit for it.
I think the primary thing was that she testified against him, and we don't really know what the crime was and
which we
what
get
all that entailed. But it sounds like grandma was like the driving force, main witness testimony that was used to put him away.
Okay. So, that makes sense. So this next chapter, there's a lot in it. I actually wrote at the end, chapter too long. But I think that Adrian probably wanted all of this to be in, it's all in Lear's point of view. So if you broke it up into multiple chapters, well, he likes to do every chapter is a different point of view. If you did multiple chapters, you'd have several chapters of the same point of view in a row. So maybe that's why he decided to make it one chapter. But I thought there was so much information in this chapter. I think some of the tension could have been built across the scenes a little bit more if it was split up. That's my personal preference. That's not anything that makes the book bad. So in here we do get some answers. We get what CC Day is, which I still don't really know what CC stands for. I didn't get that from the text, but we do know what that day, why it's important to Megs. And it's very possible I just missed it. I meant to go back and look again for CC Day, like if it stood for something. I assume it's an acronym or it's a.
Yeah, I think it was just said that it was insinuated that it was a religious day, but I don't think it went into it any more than that. But I was happy with that. I didn't need any more information than that, really.
Yeah, I wondered. I was like, what does CC then mean? But I know what I know what it means to her as a day.
Yeah.
We also learned why Faye's dad went to jail.
Oh, church. We got it wrong. Church closet.
Oh, church
Adrian
closet.
Saying in the chat.
I figured it was something that I didn't get, but So yes, her grandmother testified against Faye's father.
I got that wrong.
Okay. So that, now that being reminded of that, I really don't I don't think it goes along with the reason why we find out that Faye's father goes to jail. So we find out Faye's father goes to jail because a man was trying to rape her, basically, and her father intervened and beat the guy pretty bad. He didn't kill him, though. From what I understand, he wasn't killed. That's what I remembered. He murdered. Oh no, he did. He murdered him with his bare hands in prison. Yeah, he killed him. So, and you got 25 years. And I'm like, well, what would the grandmother have said? Yes, my son is a maniac and he's dangerous and he needs to be locked up forever. Or I don't know. I think this is like, wouldn't this be like involuntary manslaughter? And maybe the
crime
laws.
of passion.
Crime
Yeah.
of passion. I don't even think you get like 25 years for that, but this is a different system. So it's possible, which I could understand all that. But I was like, what did the grandmother do then? Because what could she say?
That was my confusion too, because initially it felt like the buildup was like the grandma was the,
the driving force. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if she just couldn't lie to the police and they said, you're under oath, blah, 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 and she'd seen it happen or whatever, well, unless she's going to lie under oath, which presumably he wouldn't want her to do, like she would have to say so.
But that would be it would then be Faye would accuse her of lying under oath, not saving her son, versus her being the one telling. Because if I remember right, she testified against Faye's father. So she said something against Faye's father. But I was like, what could she have said? Like, no, that boy wasn't going to rape my daughter or my granddaughter. But then Faye could say, yes, he was trying to rape me. And so I don't understand what it was exactly the grandmother could have done that would have made this a different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Sure.
So I was trying to put those pieces together and I didn't get that. There's a lot that happens here. So we learn about CC Day at Meg's home church, learn what Faye's father went to jail for, attack on the hotel. Oh, all the forces are converging. So in the previous chapter so 2 chapters ago, we find out for Roy's chapter, Roy and Pan are going to go off and attack the senators at the hotel. And now they're going to go and try find, and they're going to go and they're doing the same thing, right? They're going to go to the inn. It says it here. They're going to the inn. They go to the inn because they want to draw out the silver-haired man. So they have to do that through the senator. And one thing, I think I wrote it down somewhere here. I don't remember which page because there's a lot of pages here, but I said it was really nicely set up. The idea that Lear was called in to be a bodyguard, and that he got to see what's happening there. So we know the action. We know where these people are. We know what the security looks like already. We know setting, we know scene, we know what's happening there as far as the legalities of what's happening there. We know all this stuff from Lear having gone there and seen it all. And it didn't seem contrived because, right, he was there in the hotel because of something else. And of course, then he had his buddy, Banderas. So he went back to Banderas a few times and then he started working there with the Senate. So I was like, this was all very well set up, I thought, anyways, for everything to converge here at this inn later in the book.
I agree because a lot of again, I really liked Lear's perspective. So it felt like, okay, this job as a bodyguard to the senator is essentially like a stairway to freedom for Lear. And now this object of freedom, this new life, this way out is taken away from him because he is choosing that path. And I don't know, I think that was really good. So I think that was brilliant. Yes.
I have a lot of pages written on here. This was just it was well written.
There was such a lot. I really liked the fact that at the beginning of the chapter, you've got the three of them coming together and working together for the first time, and then seeing them as they're in the inn and they're each using their kind of different abilities, if you like, but kind of working as a team and looking out for each other and things. That was very cool. And of course, this chapter is when we find out that Faye is a descendant of Gaia, which is like a big thing. Mm-hmm. So it was cool. There was a lot of, I don't know, the fighting got a little much for me, a little kind of John Wicky with like punching everyone before they managed to like get their guns to shoot and things. But it was all good fun.
I would say reading all of it, I was like, this is a dude writing this. But I did not like it. I liked it.
I liked it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I liked it, but it was very boy-y.
It was. Yeah, I was like, this is definitely a guy who's writing this. So, but I would probably, most people might read like a love romance scene of kissing and holding hands, be like, oh, this is a girl who wrote this, but it would be wrong. There's people who could write like this or not the same gender or any gender. But yeah, but I did get that feel. It was like, this is like something my brother should write. But and I liked it. Yeah. So the only other notes I had on here, there was one line that Mig says that sounded like Faye. It sounded like a line that Faye would say, which is where the three of them are together, I think, or it's Megdalia. It's Megdalia and Faye. No, they're all there. And he's feeling bad about the people he killed, and Megdalia puts his hand on her shoulder, or a hand on his shoulder, put her hand on his in silent apology, and yeah, maybe it is Faye. Maybe I got confused about who's saying, because there's no tags. There's no dialogue tag, and there's no action tag, no beat tag. It says, whether we kill in self-defense, following orders, or fighting for freedom, the result's the same. You lose a piece of your soul, a piece of you can never get back. You can only lose so many of these pieces before you're soulless. I think that was him saying that. And then the next line says, you have a soul, Lear, and it's a good one, with limitless potential. And I thought that was Faye until like the next line where it says he looked up and met Megdalia's eyes. And I was like, that feels like a Faye line. Like,
it does feel like a Faye line, yeah.
I mean, she could say he's a good soul, but to say that he has a soul, a good one with limitless potential, I feel like to put a quality on his soul and what he can do, I feel like that Faye would say something along those lines because she sees the auras and stuff. Anyways, that was my thing.
I think this was a setup for the romance. Just trying to like show some intimacy before the romance. And I do think that whole thing was a little bit rushed. But I think that was probably the intention behind it.
Gotcha.
Cool.
There was a comma splice. It's the only one I found in the whole book, so it's pretty good. I'll pick out a lot of grammatical stuff because I used to be a writing coach, mostly editor and teacher. I did wonder, and I want to go back and look this up too. So while he's in the hotel, wasn't there someone that Lear came across when the first day of his job with the senator, a friend he came across from his childhood?
Was it his childhood?
I can't remember. There was a guy he came across from his childhood who recognized him. And I'm like, who was that? What was his name? And I was like, did he show up in the scene at all? Where was he at? Was he any of these guys? I don't know. I meant to go back and look up the name, and I ran out of time. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
There was definitely a guy that he knew from, I can't remember if was it childhood or was it when he was fighting?
Fighting. It was when he was fighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. It was the very first section that we read, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember the guy, and I thought I was looking for somebody to show up here that would remind me, oh, this is his friend, and he comes face to face with his friend, and he does his best not to hurt his friend or whatever, because he doesn't kill anybody. But I was looking for that to happen because his friend was supposed to be working. As far as I knew, I didn't remember his friend taking time off. So I was looking for that, but that person didn't come back in again. So I was looking for that. Okay, when Lear goes in to talk to Bigsby, and he says, enjoying the show, boss? And, oh dear, have I gotten in your head, Bigsby? But then he says out loud, I've never known you to be speechless. And we're having a storm here. I didn't get this antagonistic behavior. I didn't understand why he was being antagonistic with Bigsby. From every scene that I've seen him in before, or the very last scene he had with Bigsby is when Bigsby is telling him, hey, you chased after that guy, but he was not putting me in danger. It was that gravity moment that I really enjoyed. And from that scene, I felt like, that Lear was still looking at, yes, yes, boss, yes, sir, or whatever he said, right? That Lear didn't have an antagonistic relationship with Bigsby. But then this scene, he's antagonistic in his words with Bigsby. And I was like, I don't know where this is coming from. And it's not like he's there to, he may not agree with what Bigsby's doing stuff, but his main objective is to get Bigsby to give him the information about the man and to call the man out, the silver-haired man. So why would you go into it and be antagonistic from the very beginning and say these things when this is not the relationship you guys had before?
That part didn't really bother me so much because I kind of got like an apathetic, like neither one cared for each other. That was just, they were a means to an end type thing from both sides.
Yeah.
But maybe that was just me.
Yeah, I didn't, that didn't bother me.
Yeah, it felt like they were like, like Lear was looking at him like you're my employer, your job, you're a means for to an end, and then vice versa. Like, I need you, I need a bodyguard, you're a means to an end, and that's kind of where the relationship stopped. Although we did see the moment where like, I think that's kind of where my thoughts lie.
Liz had a tough time. He's probably a bit fed up. by this point, you know?
Okay.
Maybe not as patient as he
I
might
didn't get that
be.
build up. I could see him saying something like that to the boss, the person he worked for before, because I feel like their relationship was antagonistic. But I just see that with it. But yeah. And then I had made a note. This is nothing big or anything. When he what is it, with Erdman Killer screamed in excruciating pain, he immediately went into shock, writhing. So what does he do? He does something to Pan, right? He faked a punch to Pan's face, used defensive grab toe, pulled apart. Oh, he broke his arm, and it said that that he screamed in excruciating pain and tried to make his elbow bend back. Immediately went into shock, writhing and screaming and babbling. And I went, "Oh, what a baby! Like, he's cutting up people, and he's a baby when he gets his arm broken."
I don't know, the whole like the visceral like descriptions. I was like, oh, gross, ew, ew.
Disgusting.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, because we passed that chapter already. When she's describing the body parts, I thought that would have been a good scene. That was kind of gruesome, but I liked it. And when she's talking about all the body parts that she's seeing, I'm like, we should see a face looking at her through the window or something. We should see that face. And she did. When she goes in later, we do get the face, and we know it's Bigsby, or not Bigsby, the boss at that time. And I thought, okay, so he wants to show the face here to show that it's the boss. But I was like, it would be creepy as heck to add to that scene if that face was like looking at her with like a permanent smile or something. I don't know. We would just add to it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, the descriptions and the action here were like spot on. I was like cringing internally and flinching with every movement. So well done. I hated it, but I also liked it.
I thought it was good. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. Are we ready to move on chapter 35, or you guys have any other notes?
Yeah.
I think sorry. I'm looking at my future notes. Yep.
Okay. Sorry. 35 is Miggs. We're in the hotel still. Roy is killed by his brother. We find out he's a paleo. He's just more of one of them. And we learned that there's a dark web, which kind of calls back to, again, stuff that happened here on Earth. I kind of like it. I know sometimes it hits you wrong, Bethany, but yeah, I liked it.
No, I liked it too. Once I got like my head around it and the idea of like this network and multiple paleos, I was like, ooh, this is great.
Yes.
I really like that. Yeah, I thought that was a fun twist. I was not expecting that.
Me neither. I was not expecting that twist at all. And yeah, and it's one of those things that makes me question what else is there, but it's not a question that I'm like, I really want to know the answer by the end of the book. It's not one of those that I needed to, not like the guy that I felt like the guy that she met in the middle of the spark. I really wanted to know more about that, but I'm more about.
It felt like it was setting up for something bigger, and it makes me nervous because like this little incident is not a little incident. It's got roots and they're spreading, and
they're everywhere. Yep. There's more to it. Yeah. I thought the fact that she, could talk to her gun and say taser and turn into a taser, that was kind of cool. I don't know if that happened before.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. I like that. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I like that. And then I think it's Magdalia, Miggs, and Faye and Lear, and no convo with Lear. I think the two of them were talking. And I put no convo with Lear, but I don't remember what I was thinking with that. I think it's Magdalia and Faye are talking, and Lear is there, but they're not talking to him, but he's there in the scene. And I guess I was feeling like he should be part of the scene. I don't know. Maybe that's what I was thinking. I don't know why I wrote that. I was, again, when the Erdmen showed up, they showed up in carriages. And I was like, wait, but the last time they did anything, it was in a van, right? Or some type of big vehicle. It was something big.
The van was the first one, and then they used the carriages when they were stealing the bodies, when they were stealing Bella and Mitch's bodies. And we were like, well, how come they used a van before when they kidnapped Miggs? So now they're back to carriages, so that's fine. I just think it stands out so much that you'd think that
why so
it would cause a disturbance.
What I was thinking was, okay, so the van or whatever it was that was used, and I think Bethany made this point, maybe I could be misremembering, that now they had this technology, they were using a vehicle, and it was for this one scene, and it's never been used again. So it feels kind of contrived for me. It's not her words now it's my words, that it felt contrived that the only time they did not use carriages was for that scene to take Miggs. And then, she sees Pan and Roy step out, and then she's like, oh, the Erdmans. And they're like, how do you know it's Erdman? So she says Pan and Roy. I'm like, wouldn't the carrot just be the first point? Wouldn't that be the first clue? Not that she saw Pan and Roy.
Yeah, I did get a little chuckle out of that. He's like, who else is riding carriages around town?
So, but this is all this. I love this. What is going on right here? What did I love? What would Faye do? This is when Lear is like going through what everybody would do between Faye and Miggs, and he was like, what would Faye do? She'd probably hypnotize them. What would Miggs do? Was it Miggs or was it Miggs that was thinking this? Yeah, it was Miggs that was thinking this. Wait. First was stairwell, so that's what Magdalia. What would Faye do? No, it's most of them coming up the stairway. Magdalia shouted. I'm pretty sure that's why I wrote that. Now this is in Lear's point of view, right?
Are we sorry? Which chapter are you talking about?
I'm sorry. I think I'm messing it up. From Mig's point of view, this is chapter 35.
Yes, chapter 35. So it's basically the same. It's what happened in the previous chapter, but told from Mig's point of view.
Yeah,
which I get why it had to be done, but I'm not the greatest fan of like replaying it for somebody else. But I get why it needed to be done.
So she says, what would Faye do? She'd probably hypnotize them. What would Lear do? And then she does her action, and it's none of the things that they would do. And I thought, this is awesome. She's thinking about what would they do? Okay, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So I remember, sorry, I was messing that up. So yeah, I agree with you, Emma. That was kind of the same thing when we were in Mig's point of view after being with Cyrena, and she was watching the whole exchange between her and Eamon, Marco. I was like, but we just saw all this. What's different? What's new? I don't understand what's different about this. So there's a point where I'm like, I do think there are a subset of readers who do like seeing scenes, the same exact scene, but from the other point of view. So maybe it's just that we need something more from it, from the other point of view.
Yeah, I'm one of those readers who do like that. If there is like something that happens in like the other perspective that totally changes the whole story. And it's one of those aha, brilliant moments because you think you know what's happening because you just read it, but you don't. And I was kind of feeling like this was a setup for something like that, but it wasn't. So like, I still thought it was good action, still thought it was good. We got Mig's point of view. I like it. But it almost felt like we were setting up for something bigger.
We do learn about
I felt a bit sorry for the homeless people as well, being kind of
used
and used as cannon fodder, basically. I thought that was a bit mean.
It also added an element of like, just this isn't just between these characters, like there's real stakes. I think it elevated the stakes a bit. Yeah.
So, chapter 36.
Yes.
This is Cyrena's point of view. She's killed by Marco.
Yep.
I knew that was coming. I knew
excellent.
It was.
This was so good, this chapter. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that I could have put this down. It was so like, oh, what's he going to do? Where's he going to come from?
I don't have a single note.
It was, it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that everybody was able to watch as well because it was all being broadcast.
Yeah, that was my one note was like, I was just like curious because even though this was in Cyrena's point of view, we see that Miggs was trying to talk with her. And I'm like, but Miggs knows that her lifestyle is broadcasted everywhere. So I was like, wouldn't Miggs be concerned that she's like telling Cyrena of this plan to a million people? I don't know. Did I miss something?
No, I knew firmly that it was in front of millions of people, and I didn't find anything wrong with it.
Okay. No, and I think it's just me and like this weird, like in my head, it's like another character like in the room. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, did you mean to tell that to someone? Like, I don't know. But
I kept wondering, isn't any of her fans going to call the police? And I'm like, no, because I have showing that when someone's being killed in front of a bunch of people out in the middle of the street, no one does anything about it.
No, I thought the exact same thing, and I came to the same conclusion. I was like, different society, but not.
Yep. We're still
human. Or maybe they'd think up until like the last minute that it was all like, some elaborate thing to get more views or something. I don't know. But no, I really, really like that chapter. That was
so
good. It was scary.
What I would is that this, writing wise, this is one of the best written chapters, in my opinion, because of the way the tension's built. I think I don't know if you guys had the idea, but I feel like the outcome was already determined when Marco's there you know she's going to be dead. But the fact is as it goes along, you don't know. You keep thinking she's going to get out of it. She's going to win. And so you've got this tension is building. I'm thinking she's dead. She's dead meat. She's gone. There's no way Mix is going to get there on time. It's it. That's it. She's dead. But then she keeps getting away from him and getting to another room. And I'm like, she's going to get away. And then when it actually happens at the end, I'm like, yeah, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think this was one of the best chapters.
Yeah, a lot of false hope was given to the readers just for you to take it all away.
You kind of knew she didn't really stand a chance, but there was still like okay, maybe you can do it. Yeah, very good.
All right, chapter 37. We're getting to the end here. So this is the first chapter that doesn't have a name for the point of view.
Yeah. I had some thoughts about that.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I'm on board with it because it led to, I felt like some head hopping. I felt like I wasn't sure whose point of view I was in. Who was I supposed to feel close to? But maybe that was the idea because he is setting up this polyamorous relationship between the three of them. So I tried to have some like, okay, this is what he's trying to do. But based off of I had my expectations set up for the rest of the book. The rest of the book told me this is how it's going to go. And then it's all mixed up. And now I'm wondering, if I read the next book, is it going to be in everyone's point of view again? Or is it going to start over in different points of view? Or how's it going to go?
My thought was, it was very intentional, this whole book to be third person limited. And each character got their slice of time. And to kind of go off, it felt like going off script. It was jarring because I was like, now we're just in general third person. And it sometimes felt like third person limited and not. And it changed the flow and the pacing for me. And again, like, I'm going to talk about like reader expectations and expectations within genre and like how there are certain expectations, not rules, and you can break those rules and expectations. But for me, it just felt like I was reading, I don't know how to describe it. It felt out of place, and it was hard for me to like get a handle on what was going on. That's not to say I didn't like the content. Like I think what happened was great, but the writing felt distinctly different.
It felt like there was extra space between me and the story going on, where I was getting closer and closer, and I felt like there was distance put there.
Yeah, and it felt different enough where, I mean, like I had gotten used to the author's voice and the way things were set up and the way things were described. And then all of a sudden it felt like someone else kind of almost writing the story or something like that. And we have this, like, that's why third person limited is so powerful, is because you can get right next to that reader. And it was almost like, okay, instead of being like, a camera shot right at the character, we were panned out. And I think that's an interesting way. I think writing like that is really powerful for like a prologue or an epilogue where you kind of have a little bit more freedom. But it did take me by surprise. Sorry, go ahead, Emma. I think I cut you off.
No, I was just, it's difficult because you've got these three heroes who have come along and, this is like the big moment, the big fight. And I like the idea of the black crystal. I thought all the cool shadows and stuff was really cool, and Faye. I guess if I was to choose a narrator for this chapter, it would have been Faye, as she's the one who's got the power source, if you like. She's the one that's ultimately going to kill him. But then as they end up split up so much, I don't know.
I think it could do really well to have very short chapters in each person's point of view and goes from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And it would speed up pacing a little bit as well.
Yeah. It might give quite a sense of urgency as well, if it is kind of chopping between people as they're seeing things, as they're experiencing. That might be a better way to do it.
I did like a lot of this note. We found out a lot about Marco. I did have some concerns. Some issues. Some things I didn't get, but like when he's holding Faye's hand, all of a sudden it feels like her hand is cold steel, and he turns around and she's gone. I'm like, well, then what is he holding? And it doesn't say what he's holding.
Yeah, it does. He's holding like the stair rail.
No, I read that several times. I couldn't figure it out. He's holding the stairwell and her. So it went down in the dark. Lear tightened his grip on Faye's hand. On careful feet, they stepped into stairs and into the dark. He knew something was off. Her hand became cold steel in his grip. Turning a flashlight, it revealed it to be the railing. How come I didn't get that? Like, I thought that he was holding the railing and her hand. I don't know. Never mind.
No, he's kind of,
But I liked how this all set up. And then we did find out that the stone that was holding, or whatever the material is, the metal that's holding his sister captive, was the same black stone.
Mm-hmm.
We did find that out.
Yeah.
I did think before, when we were in Harley's perspective, like, you know, I was like, whatever happened to the mom? You know, Robo Mom. I was like, what happened to Robo Mom? And we don't really hear.
I did make a couple of notes about that, but then it's resolved at the end, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I would have thought that Leah would have been, I mean, I know she's only Robo Mom, but like,
well, no, but he loves her still. So
yeah. So I did wonder why he didn't make more of it.
Well, and I think I wrote down notes about that too. Hold on. I put down why maybe he didn't, but none of it was said. Did I write it down here? Where did I write it down? I wrote it down somewhere. But I think I wrote down, like, well, either, you know, he didn't have time, or he was so distraught over seeing Harley the way she was, but he doesn't really show that he's distraught at how damaged she is when he finds her. That's in here, right? Yeah. So, but that was a question. Why didn't he look for Mom?
Yeah.
So, and I put here that, you know, there wasn't a sound from either Harley or the robot that pretended to be their mother. And that's in Lear's point of view. But I think he has like a genuine affection for the robot, even. So that felt kind of distant.
It's still like, you know, it's not his mom, but it's like.
But you also have to like chalk it up to the narration. Like, it's not Lear's point of view.
Right.
Like,
you're right.
It's this other point of view. So.
And there's a scene, it's in Faye's point of view. It starts off with Faye. This is when they're separated. Well, you know, and I think they're separated at this point. So I think it was supposed to be in his point of view. But again, we do have that separation that was put there in the beginning. But then there's the conversation, and I don't know, Anima, you're not dead. And like, who's saying this? I don't know who. It doesn't have an action tag, and not everything has to have an action tag or a dialogue tag. I totally understand that. But when you have multiple people to see, I kind of get confused sometimes, because it's her dad, her grandma, Mitch and Bella. And so I think it was supposed to be Faye. The black crystal is how, because Faye says the line before that. It says, Faye spoke. The black crystal is how he performed shadow magic. Destroy it. Period. Quotation marks. Next line. Open quotation marks. Anima, you're not dead. Period. Quotation marks. I'm like, well, who's saying this? It feels like a Faye line, but it was separated from the previous line. So I don't know.
I didn't think it was Faye that said it, because I thought she would have referred to her grandma by her, you know, grandma name, like grandma or something. But I guess she didn't earlier.
Her grandma name. I like that.
Grandma name, as in grandma. That title.
Yeah.
Because if she didn't say it, then who said it? I'm not sure that her dad would call his mom by her first name.
I thought it was Faye, and that she just doesn't call her grandma by her grandma name.
I think maybe you're right, because I forgot they interacted once earlier, and I can't remember if they had that familiarity or not.
It's not that she says Anima. Yeah. It's not the fact that she says Anima. It's the fact that it's two different lines or two different quotation marks.
Yeah.
Like, usually there's an action beat or something in between if it's still the same person, you know, or it's all one quote, all in one quote. The fact that it's separated out as its own line makes me think that it's someone else who's talking. I don't know. But then I couldn't figure out who, you know, I figured it was Faye, but just didn't. Bella stood and ran to Faye. She took Faye's hands in her own. I put, how does this work? Because I was thinking this was like a spirit realm or something, and I wasn't sure how they were touching, but then I suspended my animation. No, I suspended my imagination.
I'm
animated.
That was cute. I love that.
I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, I thought you did it on purpose, like a little pun. Oh.
No, that was the wrong word. I still don't understand motivation of okay, so I meant to go back, and this was another one. I want to go back and look at it. What was the motivation of killing Mitch and Bella in the first place? So if we know that it was the guy who killed Mitch, the serial killer guy, it was a hit that was taken out. Was it because Mitch knew something he wasn't supposed to have? I have lost it. I think that this is the story that propels everything, is his murder. And by this point, I can't remember what was the motivation behind killing them. And I can't remember what it was. Do you guys remember? No.
No.
And it's never clarified, because I waited until the end of the book to see if it was clarified, because it says, Bella's face is destroyed. And I always thought from the beginning, I thought, okay, her face is destroyed because nobody wants her to be identified. That's the reason why it was destroyed. And then when it came out later and I thought it might have something to do with her family or something like that. But when it came out that it was a hit on Mitch, and she was there, then I was like, and then this line is actually said, it supported what I was thinking. I was like, okay, then her face was destroyed because it was an act of passion. Usually when you destroy somebody's face is because you're so mad at them. But then we never get that from the serial killer. Why was he mad at her? What passion did he have toward her? As from everything I could see, he didn't even know who she was. It wasn't like a personal kind of thing. So then why was her face destroyed? The reasons that were given in the book and were the same reasons I thought of were not supported. So then why was her face destroyed? And that's what got me thinking, wait, why was Mitch even killed? I don't remember now at this point. But
so Adrian says Mitch found Marco's portal to Gaia and his trophy grove with all the missing persons posters. He knows too much. It wasn't a hit. It was Marco. But why Bella's face and everything then?
Yeah. Then why
so
Bella?
Much violence towards Bella. I mean, so she was there, she'd seen it, so have to kill her. But why not just shoot her or something? Why?
So now that he says that, I do remember that was what it was. I think maybe that just needs to be reinforced somewhere. Because I don't think it's ever strictly said straight out, is it? Or maybe it is, and I just don't remember it. As for Bella, he killed her thinking she was Cyrena. Upon realizing she wasn't, he became very angry. Oh. That would be nice. I don't remember that from the book either. Maybe it is in there too, and I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Are we just bad people for not remembering?
I think we're just really bad at this. I would advise Adrian to find better people.
We've read this over a period of 6 weeks, and we all talked about not wanting to read ahead. So I will say, I think in a normal reading experience, our recall would not be this poor, but we spaced it out intentionally, and with that comes human error. And so I would like to think that in a real life situation, it would take me maybe 2 weeks max to read this in my leisure time. And therefore the recall would not be as long, but it's taken us 6 weeks to get to this point.
But I would say there are people who do take time. Like right now I'm reading a book at night. True. I get one chapter done a night. So it's going to take me like 20 weeks to finish it.
That's true. And I will say this very upfront was a epic. We knew this was not a simple world, not a simple story, not simple characters. And I think that's really ambitious. And with that comes unique challenges.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Faye, we're now in Faye's point of view. So that's the scene where, you guys don't know where I'm at because I'm in my head. So
it's a beautiful place to be.
Thank you. So Migs shoots Marco through the stomach. He shoots the thing and it goes through him and he heals right away. Okay. Then she shoots him in the head and pushes his dead body off, gets up, and her and Lear start talking, right? Wait, it's not, she doesn't shoot him. Lear shoots him through the head. She pushes his dead body off. They get up, they start talking. And right away, I'm like, okay, but you just saw him heal when you shot him and it went through his body, because it says it went through his body, and he healed and he didn't die. So if you shot him in the head, why wouldn't he die? I mean, why would he die? He didn't die the first time. So it's the first thing I thought of. And so when she pushed his dead body off, I was like, oh, okay, he actually died this time. And I was waiting for Migs to say something along those lines, like, oh, okay, I guess maybe it took a headshot, like zombies or something. She didn't say zombies, but like zombies, you can't kill them unless you chop off their head or shoot their brains out, right? So I was thinking something along those lines. And then when Marco stands up, I'm like, well, he did die. I was like, wait, Migs is smarter than this. Migs should have thought of this. I mean, she's a police officer. She was promoted. I would think that with, the idea that she's supposed to be smart, that would be the first thing. You shoot someone in the chest, they don't die. You shoot them in the head, they may not die. You check them, double check them. I don't know. That was
that part didn't surprise me so much as like, I think in a reality, like in a adrenaline induced situation, you shoot someone in the head, they're dead. Right. And maybe she thought that it like went through him, but he was still like fighting, and not that it actually like went through him with no injury. I don't know. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, and I was hoping, I don't know. That was just me.
Because it said it went out his back with green blood, black bone, and bullet fragments. The wound sealed almost instantly. It's like instantaneously. As soon as she shoots him, it goes through him. He heals. So the minute that it says that he got shot in the head, I said headshot killed him, but not the other. How and why? I want to know. This feels like a magical thing, and so this one I felt like it needed like a rule to go with it.
Maybe, but I also like chalked it up to the different POV, and like we couldn't see really what was going on in Mig's head, but we could. So I'm like, I almost thought the like bigger point of view was kind of acting like an unreliable narrator of sorts. Like,
I didn't go there yet. I didn't think about that.
I don't know. It could have just been that I was a little thrown off by that still.
And then, so that's happening, right? So Lear and Miggs, they just killed him. Marco got back up. They both jump at the side of him. They both draw their weapons and open fire. And, but Marco Patty kept shape-shifting and walking toward them. Scene end, start next scene. Faye steps over the broken French doors, which is coming into the same scene where they're at. We have a short little scene with her, and there's not one mention of Faye or Lear. Not a single mention. And I'm like, where are they at in this scene? You know?
They're just standing back. I don't know.
Again, yeah. We go to a different. I don't know. Nice callback though to the girl in the store with the knife that she put the protection on at the very beginning of the story. I did remember that detail. I thought that was a really nice callback.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so right after that part, this is where things became kind of confusing for me. Very, very confusing. And I don't know if this could be just me, or maybe the scene was written differently at one point. But we're talking about, okay, so maybe they got it wrong. This is when Faye is in his head. Everyone's been lying about Gaia. We got here. Nobody knows the truth. And he says, Marco says, I do. You came to Spark with the Knights. You changed your face and took one of their places, didn't you? Is what she says to him. And she says that to him. You came to Spark with the Knights. You changed your face and took one of their places, didn't you? And he had just said it was his father who had come, not him. That he was born there on the Spark. And Marco stares and she asks, did you come alone? And he still just stares at her. And she says, Marco, tell me about the day the Knights came back. But he wasn't born yet. So this kind of threw me. And I was wondering, well, maybe at one point, was it that he was the one that came from Gaia, not his dad? No, I don't remember where he says that. But he says at some point that it's his dad who is the one that came. And it even says the murders didn't start happening until 30 years ago. And that's when he took over from his dad. I don't know. Maybe I could have missed something.
I was just kind of like hung up in a good way on the whole Knights thing. Like it was very fun. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like Indiana Jones-ish, where we had like the secret society of knights protecting the goblet. What is it? I almost said Goblet of Fire. I'm getting all of my lore mixed up. But yeah, it was kind of, I also just chalked it up to adrenaline, like give me all the information you have. Like I didn't even think about the whole timeline very much because I think I'm still a little bit confused about it.
And a couple of sentences down, it says she saw Marco's mother passing. She was human, Faye thought. So I was like, okay. So that human mother for Marco means they're back on the Spark before he was born. So then, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so you think she was probably just mixing it all up? And
he was a bit confused, I think. Oh. I don't know. I thought it might have just been me when I was reading it. Maybe I was just getting a bit confused.
No, I think I was a little bit confused on the timeline as well. I'm looking back at my notes and I'm not seeing much of substance for my notes. Because also the pacing again was still really great. So it was like, it kept me going.
Yeah, and that scene does continue where it says that he met his father. He went to go live with his father after his mother died from something. He was at the hospital bed. He held his mother's hand until the blood in her veins stopped flowing. And then that was the day he went to go live with his father. So then I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something we're just missing there.
Yeah.
It's very possible we just missed something. Alrighty. Chapter 38. I think this is the last chapter before the epilogue. Yep.
Yeah.
And then this is called the Triad. Here they are truthful with each other. They have good fun together and make plans to escape to Gaia. And let's see, I wrote, well, it says, Magdalia, you and I flirted from day one and felt pulled towards each other, which you couldn't act on because of your job in case. So he was saying, Lear was saying this to Mig, that we felt like pulled to each other and we couldn't act on it because of the job. And I thought, well, what about the fact that she doesn't like to be touched? But I know he makes a note somewhere that he makes a note that she must have let him touch her because she felt safe or protected. Not quite sure that's how things work when you have like an aversion to something, but I was going along with it. But I did wonder, like, wouldn't that be like part of it? Like maybe in the beginning she didn't want to be touched, if that was a touch aversion that she had.
Yeah.
I wrote Robo Mom ? I'm still wondering about her.
Yeah. I said, what about Robo Mom? He'd be wondering. My main thing was, his sister's just died.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrifically as well. She was his only family, wasn't she? That we know
Other
of.
than Robo Mom.
Robo Mom.
Anyway, other than like actual family, and yet this has just happened, and he's thinking about getting it on. Like,
I made a similar note. Yeah, sorry, keep going.
I was, he'd be absolutely devastated. This is a horrific thing that's happened. He wouldn't be going, well, hey. Forgot protection again. Excuse me. And Migs hasn't made any great declarations that you don't need to worry about her getting pregnant. So I would have liked to have seen him mourn a little bit for his poor sister. I wasn't even that keen on, but he was.
I had a very similar reaction where
she froze for me. She froze.
She's frozen for me.
Oh, okay. You're back.
Oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gone. Where'd I go?
You froze.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Okay. I don't know where I froze at. I was just talking to myself, I guess.
You were saying that you had similar thoughts about Lear after Harley had died.
Yeah, for all of them, it was like you just came off of this intense action sequence, the adrenaline's pumping, you got these like big realizations happening, and then it felt a little too convenient and a little too almost like book has been very like adult level, and then all of a sudden it felt very like YA, like now that we're all through it together, like let's declare our love. And again, I love me some romance. I love me some romance subplot. It just felt a little too...
The tone changed.
It changed so fast. I almost had a little bit of whiplash with that.
Me too.
And it was a little bit surprising. It definitely felt something that maybe would have been like an epilogue or like an intro to like the next book, or I'm not telling anyone how to write or whatever. It felt out of place. And
and I would
I'm
say
curious to see what that's going to look like in the future books. Like, I think it's a great setup, but it took me by surprise.
It made a lot of questions for me. So, for instance, when they said that they want to go to live on Gaia, okay, what have we learned so far about Gaia now since Mitch and Bella first went? Which is that there are forces down there. We know there's forces. They thought, oh, the planet, it's not as bad as everyone's saying. But now we know that that's where Marco came from, or at least his ancestors. That's where Gaia is at. There's things happening down there. There's forces down there. So I'm like, well, why aren't they considering what's there? Like, aren't they afraid that they might find another Marco or a similar person like that, or similar entity? Yes, Gaia would be nice to find probably because she seems protective. But I was like, why aren't they worried about the forces there? Why isn't that something they're discussing? And then I put, how did Faye's ancestor have magic? She says it was because it did, but I wondered about it before when they said that the one knight who came back, or the scientist who came back, was pregnant. I was like, okay. I remember thinking that. I was like, is it because she got pregnant while she was there, Or was it because she was with somebody who was there? Is that where the magic came from? So then I asked again. It does say that it was the conception was conceived on the baby Ava Nolani, birth 9 months after returning, was conceived on Gaia. So I was like, okay, was it just conception on Gaia, or was it sleeping with someone there? And I think maybe it is trying to be clear. It is trying to be clear by saying conception, but I don't know how just a conception there could do that. I'm curious about how that is, but it's not enough to make me be like, okay, I need the answer now for this book. That one was not one of them. And then I put, well, if they all go there, what about Faye's father in jail? She's just going to abandon him?
That's what I thought. She's just going to leave everything.
Yeah. And then this went back to, well, again, why can't Faye get pregnant? Does this mean the family and her magic, or the magic in her family dies? But then if she's on Gaia, can she get pregnant? Can the magic be done again? Again, those are the second part of it is if they live on Gaia magic. But I still want to know why can't she get pregnant? Because why isn't that a concern? Is it like a technology? Is it something like she had something like
it's very medically advanced over there?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they get like that thing that we have today, right? You can put it in your shoulder or something, and you don't get pregnant until you get taken out or something. I don't remember what that's called. I've never had it before. Something you put in your arm. My girlfriend had it. There are things you can do that you only have to do once, and you don't get pregnant for a while, and you need to go get redone again.
Yeah, the whole romance thing just felt a little bit rushed and kind of like a cliche way to end it. I do like that it was sort of a complete story in the sense that we got like a resolution to the murder and what happened with that.
I don't know if this is,
but I have a lot of questions about like their decisions and like what made them want to make that decision. And like, I like where you're coming from, Angela, but they seemed so rational.
Yeah, very, very rational.
And the only reason that I knew that it was going to be a poly kind of romance at the end, and I had that expectation, was because it was marketed that way. We had those keywords in the marketing. Otherwise, I would have been a little bit surprised because we really didn't have a lot of like
build up
face-to-face time between Miggs and Faye.
Yeah. I would also say it was for a polyamorous scene by itself, like the thinking process was really well done, because a lot of the things that like Lyra was thinking, you got to be completely honest, no lies by omission. This is the only way this is going to work. A lot of that stuff is definitely things that you do in a polyamorous situation to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So I think that part was done. But again, I do feel that the whole tone for the whole chapter was like, okay, this is like an after the after. And I kind of thought the same thing. Epilogue. I was like, no, this has an epilogue. So what's the epilogue going to be? And again, I did think one more time, I put on here another question, because this is kind of in the book. I had put down my questions like, why didn't Lear ever go back and look for Robomom? Why didn't he go back for his sister? Why was having sex with these two women more important than bearing or whatever his practices are his sister? Why would that be more important? Mm-hmm. So, and I know by reading the epilogue why it became important because of what happens next, but it does feel like, okay, it just felt like
it felt a little out of character for all three of them.
Yeah.
But the epilogue, though, oh my goodness.
Yes. I read that. I was like, oh.
I was not expecting that at all. Are we okay to move on to it?
Yeah, let's move on. I don't have any notes. I only have one. I do have one note, but go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, because we had those questions about what happened to Robomom, like how could Lear leave Harley's body, but then Robomom comes and essentially resurrects Harley in the same way, and she's now Robo's sister. Mm-hmm. And it's just so great because we see the whole time that like Harley really resents Robomom. She's not really a human. Like she's just this like computer with the vague sense of who her mom was. And now Harley is in that same position. And I don't know. I liked that a lot.
I did. I loved it. It made me wonder if
Harley will be really good for book 2.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder if Harley won't like maybe try to take her life or cut her own life source off. But then remember, her mom gave her life to give her life, but that's not her mom, it's her Robomom. So there's gonna be like this like thinking that'll go round and round and round in her mind. But I don't know where Adrian's gonna take that. So it's definitely gonna be interesting.
Yes. I was a huge fan.
The only question I had, and it's because, and I think this goes back to that we don't always know what the technology is and what it's capable of, but the brain was without oxygen for a long time. Did it really survive?
and the skull was
cracked.
crushed.
Yeah, it was crushed. Yeah, bacteria that could get in there, that kind of stuff.
So,
I mean, yeah.
And Robo-Mum carrying her from the house to their home.
I was like, who?
Like,
when did someone
along
see her?
The streets, I was a bit like, oh, would no one notice this robot with this kind of mangled body? I maybe would have liked to have seen a little bit of, having to do it so that nobody saw or something like that. But
maybe
it was really cool.
I kind of wrote off a lot of the medical stuff of just like, this is a highly advanced society.
It's not always.
Exactly. It's not always.
That's
but with the medicine and whatnot, I was like, whatever, they can make it work.
Well, here's the thought that I was thinking, though. I was like, if even in this scene, she has a 3D printer, she has all these things she has access to, so she could make an arm, make bones, stuff like that. You would assume the 3D printer could do that in this time period, but she can't. She has to cannibalize her own body to give her daughter body parts. So if she has to cannibalize her own body and the 3D printer can't do it, then what's the technology that's keeping the brain straight?
True.
So that's where my mind went.
The nitty-gritty details kind of eluded me because I was just too engrossed in the whole like moral conundrum that Harley's going to have to deal with, and then what Lear's going to have to deal with, because I'm sure that's going to be a huge component in book 2, and the guilt he's going to feel. It's going to be great.
And I was just thinking, what would fix some of this would be if Lear did go back before the whole Polly scene. If he did go back to get Harley's body to do whatever it is that he would do with his culture, if it was bury her, burn her, whatever it was. If he went back and he couldn't find her, and he didn't, then he also tried to look for Robo-Mom and couldn't find her either. And then he kind of just chalked it up to that the house aided or something. I don't know.
That would be awesome.
That would be like a quick little note, couple sentences that would take care of why did he go right into being with these people, these 2 women, instead of going for his mom and his sister, who were the 2 women who were most important to him in his life. So, yeah.
But yes, I think that kind of gave some redemption to the rushed ending where it was like, we got something even better, like even crazier. So I was a fan.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. So Ben's overall thoughts. I like the ending. Each moment built from the last. The raid on the Senators was action-packed. Ben's Irene's death is suspenseful all the way to the magical and emotional conclusion against Marco. This is a lot, but Adrian made it work and merged the genres in a way which feels like everyone else gets to eat a little cake. I appreciate more of Marco's backstory. We don't know it all, and we don't need to know everything. There are also a lot more details of the Knights of Gaia. This opens up plenty of possibilities for the sequels in the series. I agree. There's plenty of possibilities opened up here. The sex scene, I guess it worked. It was shortened from the previous version, a bit more graphic. I think it feels out of place. So he feels the same way. For those who came here for the romance, it works on an individual. It does not work for romance, I don't think. That's my thought. But after all the action scenes, climactic showdowns, it feels like an odd denouement moment. I don't think it would work before the showdowns. Yeah, I don't think so either. After as an immediate celebration in the aftermath, while life affirming, seemed like it extended the book by too much. I'm curious to know what everyone else thinks about this scene, so I'll have to catch up on your thoughts on the replay. Well, you'll see we feel the same way. The epilogue, though, I really liked. It has tie-ins to later moments and felt surprisingly emotional for being all about AI robots.
I know.
Yeah. Overall, I had a fun time reading Mythic. It combined the genres in a way which, for the most part, felt natural. This allows it to draw in and hold the interest of various reader types and preferences, whether that is science fiction, action, cops, mystery, fantasy, etc. The book is longer than most. Adrian wrote a compelling way to make his world come alive. I enjoyed the read through and through.
Cool. Very succinct. Sounded just like Ben.
It sounded like a review, too, that he put on the book online.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
I think we're all kind of in agreement, Adrian, that scene just didn't hit right with us, that last chapter. But I think if we didn't have something, then we would be wondering where those 3 were left at. So, I don't know. I'm glad you guys struck a chord. We loved this chapter, looking for the bodies. That finding was great. Yeah, I'll definitely use that in my fixes. So.
It might have been fun to have a little bit of wondering what was going to happen for the second book, if they were there and they were all kind of realizing their feelings for each other, but not really knowing how, instead of, these people did it like this and these people did it, and will be fine. Just go and live on this planet.
I have 2 epilogues in my book that's coming out. Mine's a dual point of view, so each of my point of views got an epilogue. So,
Awesome.
yes, I think you can.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So,
of course you can. He can do whatever he wants. It's his book.
It's your book.
Yeah.
But it is funny because my readers are like, "Did you know you have 2 epilogues?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I think it's very popular. I think it's great because the epilogues and prologues should not. They should offer a window into the story, but not change the plot. But because they offer a window, it gives you so much flexibility to do it from another character, from a different point of view, from a different time period. Like you have so much freedom, but at the same time, like we hadn't gotten anything from RoboMom's point of view, so it was like kind of like a fun little extra treat. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like that little cherry on top, the sprinkles.
Okay, he's half blood, half Gaian, half human. Like Faye is also from mixed bloodline. That makes me wonder if her father then is like a Gaian or whatever. That I guess he's calling it Gaian. The conversation between them takes place in his mind, so time isn't really a thing there. I still didn't understand why she was questioning him coming to the spark, and he doesn't answer her. So there isn't like any revelation of information that we got from that scene that you could just cut those questions out. That would be my thought. Because I think knowing that it was his father, but his father's no longer there in the picture, then we don't really have that question. I didn't have those questions in my mind. So I don't, that was my thought.
Yeah, the timeline kind of confused me a little bit. And I see where Adrian's coming from, where like the time doesn't it's in his mind. So it isn't really a thing there, but it's in my mind and I deal with time. So it's hard for me to kind of separate that, but I kind of get where that's coming from. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other thoughts about the book as a whole?
No, I think it was good. It was very ambitious to kind of combine so many elements together. It was a lot to work with, but at the same time, I feel like it allows for a lot of room to expand and grow. So excited to see what comes of it.
Yeah, I want to see if they go to Gaia and what happens with Harley. Those are things I want to know.
Yeah. And I want to know more about the different paleos.
Oh yes. 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 Forgot about
Definitely.
that. But yes.
Yeah. No, it was great fun. You know, I imagine that he just had such a good time writing this and putting just everything that he loved. And I love that about it.
And I would say there are definitely, like, especially having all these different point of views and having them all come together, right? And they like all came to the same place there in the end. Like they're all there. And to get them to that point, that does take a lot of work to make sure that the details are lining up, that you're going to get all these characters to the same place at the same time, or pretty much at the same time. Wait, no, the man was not there. Marco was not there, but but everybody else was there. So, and I think that was a lot of, it was really good. It was really well done. I have a lot of questions, but maybe we'll find out some answers from Adrian. He is going to be here on his own channel in 2 weeks, and we'll get to grill him and ask him questions. And then to go off of what Adrian likes to say, I would encourage everybody to go and leave a review, because this is something Adrian always says. I have this written down, so I'm reading it. And I do feel very strongly about it. Now, this is me from my point of view, even though I have not been able to leave a review for a while with any of the books that we've read, because I've been super busy, but I do have it on my list of things to do by the end of July for all the books that we've read for the Tuber Book Club. It's just something that I've always had something else going on. And, like Bethany kept saying, we were all very busy. We all have things going on. And we enjoyed getting a chance to read about the book and read the book and talk about the book. So, and the next order of business is to do nominations for the next book that the Tuber Book Club will read. What are your guys' nominations?
Bethany, do you want to go first?
Sure. I actually don't have the book with me because I loaned it to a friend, but it is number 47 by Hannah R. Palmer.
Oh.
I thought it'd be a little bit different. I don't even remember how to market it, but it's a short book, probably the size of Tracker, maybe slightly longer. And it's about this young college woman who kind of has this psychotic break, and it's a horror thriller. Yeah, I liked it a lot. So yeah. And Hannah's a great person. If you haven't seen her channel, very sweet, lots of fun stuff. So number 47 by Hannah R. Palmer.
All right.
Okay. My nomination is Daniel's Curse by Nicole Pierman. I have to check her name because she's a different name on YouTube.
It's actually my second book here.
Hey, there we go. Cool. Yeah, she has a YouTube channel, Nicole's Bookish Nook, and it's YA fantasy, and I thought it would particularly appeal to children, actually.
Yeah, so
because of the mythology.
It was the first book I picked out to do for today too. So I'm glad you put it up there, because I thought, no, I had this other book I want to do instead, but I did pick it out as my second book in case if my first got taken. But Danu's Curse, yes, Danu's Curse Danu is the mother of the Irish mythology. So in Irish mythologies, they didn't consider them gods then; they were just powerful mystical beings. But the gods of the Irish mythology are the Tuatha De Danann, which means the people of Danu. So that kind of gives you an idea there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that book. Okay, so I did bring up like last year that we were doing a lot of books that were mostly not diverse, other than gender, and so we did Adrian's. Adrian is I think he said I'm a brown person, so I count. So I think is what he said in one of our chats. This was a little bit while ago last year. We were talking about this. So I was like trying to figure out a book that we could do that was by a diverse person. But then I just kept thinking, I was like, you know what? We've done Nightmare Tenant by Richard Holiday. He's been one of our hosts on this show. We've done his book. We've done Tracker, who's been one of our hosts on our show. We've done Falling Through, who's been one of our hosts on this show. So I thought, you know what, who we need to do? We need to do Emma Bennett's The One That Got Away.
No.
Why not?
But I do have Danu's Curse up here too.
Yeah, Danu's Curse. No, not mine.
So.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Shannon. But no.
I love it.
So let's see what people are saying here.
Oh, and then Ben's pick, I put it in the private chat, or do you want to say it? Or?
There. Unholy. I think I said Smith's song Unholy by K.S. Garner is Ben's pick. I think this is a non-author tuber, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because I think Adrian's opened it up. Yeah,
he said we didn't have to do author tubers, which I kind of like the idea that it's author tubers personally, but we'll do it.
We can kind of stick with this theme. My pick is an author tuber. Your pick is an author tuber. So maybe. And then I think Emma, is your pick an author tuber?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see.
We'll
see what happens.
She puts out content regularly, but it's called
Nicole's Bookish Nook.
Bookish Nook. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a booktube channel, more of a booktube than anything else. Nice. But she does talk about writing on there, so
still counts. We'll count it.
Okay, so Adrian says, can't wait for the interview. I have so many questions to your questions. I didn't want to put them in chat. These episodes, some of them are in text, other used to be, but were cut. Totally get it. I am looking forward to that. Did y'all see the title for book 2? I have not. I've not been keeping up with things for the last 2 weeks because I'm barely sleeping as I'm trying to get ready for the AWC and other stuff. So I did sleep last night. I slept a whole night last night.
Wow. Yay. That should be the standard, not the exception. Just saying. It's
just the exception right now as I'm trying to get my Kickstarter campaign up and I'm trying to get the AWC stuff going and I'm falling behind on stuff and my podcast. There's just so many things I'm trying to do. And of course reading for this show and taking time out and stuff. It's all good stuff though. It's all good stuff. It's just I'm not sleeping very much right now. So
gotcha. Gotta grind a little bit.
Yeah. I did not see the title for book 2. What was it? Man, it's 5:30. We started at 3 my time. We're going 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yes, we have. Oh my goodness. Others coming in sequels. We'll move through a book 2 reveal. Which of you is going to do it? LOL. I don't know what it is. I forgot season. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with too many things recently.
I can't find it.
Adrian, you're just gonna have to announce it yourself when you come on. Maybe, you can give us a teaser or something too.
I've waited 2.5 hours for that.
I found it.
You found it.
Book number 2 will be called Mythic, The Face of Gaia. Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, it's at the back of the book. I did see that. I totally forgot about it.
Fancy.
Very, very cool title.
I'll put it in there.
I put it in there for him. Kirsty.
Oh, you put it into the chat?
Yeah, I put it.
Okay.
It's just like a little.
I'm behind. Unintended. Last pages. Yes, last pages. Just do it, Adrian. Only Shan's. What is it? Okay, we said it. Okay, that was everything. Okay, so we've got our picks. We've got our stuff going on. What is next on the list? Let's say goodbye to everyone in the chat. We just did. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And now I will let the other hosts. Yeah, there, he said it. Mythic Face of Gaia. My book doesn't have threesomes. Oh. We'll go in reverse order. So, Emma, I'm going to make you large if you want to do your outro. Maybe I should have not done you.
Okay, thank you again so much, Adrian, for inviting me to talk about your book. I have had so much fun. My name is Emma Bennett. I'm a UK-based writer. I have a YouTube channel. I think it should be linked down below. Come and check it out. Subscribe. We have a lot of fun over there. I write contemporary romance and the occasional children's picture book. And bye for now.
Wrong button. Solo layout. There you go.
Hi, my name is Bethany Vota. I am the author of some short story collections and a couple of thrillers. And you can find me here on YouTube or, on other social media. But thanks, Adrienne. I had a great time. I can't wait to give you some trouble when we interview you. I'm just kidding. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great time to get a chance to actually talk to him and ask him, see where he's going. He may not tell us everything because, as an author, he may want to keep some things secret until the next book. So, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's in 2 weeks. That is going to be on the 27th of June. Yes. Someone clip that. No. Great addition. You're both such great additions. Yes. And if you guys want to stick to the next one, unless we're doing Emma's book, then Emma, you won't be allowed to be with us. But yeah, it'll be fun.
I'll be going into hiding if you do my book.
Don't. I've read your stuff. It's all amazing.
Yes, it's gonna be great. I know, and I know one day y'all probably do mine, and it's probably you'll rip into it just as much as I've ripped into these books, and then tell me all the good things too. So I'll be looking forward to that. And every book, I think every book can be better. And again, we are writers reading this from the perspective of being a writer, so of course we're gonna pick out things that writers are gonna pick out.
As someone who's been on the other side, it is a little nerve-wracking, but everything that was said about my book was accurate, to the point. Like, none of it was malicious. Like, it was a good experience. It just is a little nerve-wracking.
It is, yeah. So, all righty. Well, I'm Shannon. I have been your host. I'll be your host one more time on the channel when we get to interview Adrian and ask him all the good questions. Make sure you bring your questions if you have any from reading the book. That will be on June 27th. And as far as me, I am going to be still running writing sprints for the rest of the week. I'm also part of the Storyteller's Hearth, which actually Emma is part of the Storyteller's Hearth Write-a-thon that's coming up this weekend. I'm on 3 other people's streams, including Emma's. And I have my own stream that I'm going to be running between Saturday and Sunday. The weekend after that is the AuthorTube Writing Conference. Make sure you get to be there. It's June 23rd through the 25th. And then last thing, I do have a Kickstarter that's going to be opening up. Look, if you're interested in subscribing to my channel, I will be having a video or a live, most likely, coming out on the day of or before or both when the Kickstarter actually goes live. I think I might do it the day before and the day of, just as a quick, hey, it's open, go see it. But I don't know yet. So yeah, look out for that. I thank you everybody so much for coming. And thank you to Adrian for allowing us to read his book and talk about it. I know, again, like Bethany said, I'm sure this is very nerve-wracking being on the other side, especially when it's your debut, because I know my debut is not the best. So not saying that yours is not the best. That's not what I meant to say. My debut is not the best. I don't want anyone to do mine because I could rip it apart right now. I could go on here and rip my own debut apart. So that is not all debuts are hard. I don't know what you said earlier, Bethany, but it was perfect when you and I were talking about this behind the scenes when we talked about debuts not being the best.
If your first book you've ever written is not your worst, that means you're not getting better. So, I mean, it's kind of a badge of honor, like your first book being your worst book, because that means you've gotten better with every book you've written, right? Right? Yeah. That's what I tell myself.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell myself too. And I don't think that the story was well written. We had questions, but it was very well written. And I actually, the one chapter that I really love, that I think was the best written chapter in the book, I have taken notes from that on how to do it myself, how to replicate what he did to engineer those same emotions that I was feeling, that I want to get my reader to feel. So when you can get your reader to feel something, you're doing the right thing. So anyways, that's my thought.
Yeah.
So. All right. We will see you guys all later in 2 weeks. See you guys later. Bye.
See ya.